Hollywood, starred as an agent. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination. So don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like. And if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 301 Disney Dilemma. With the arrival of October, Dawn's Pulp Fiction surpassed $50 million at the North American box office. Quentin Tarantino's film became a complete hit, revitalizing the career of actor John Travolta and boosting the fame of Uma Thurman and Samuel L. Jackson. At Disney headquarters in Burbank, Michael Eisner, returning from New York, was chatting with Disney's major shareholder, Sid Bass. "I've spoken with Jack Welch, and General Electric is considering selling the NBC network. At this point, NBC isn't that important to GE. General Electric is now the largest publicly traded company in the United States, and NBC's stake in it is relatively small." "Oh, so GE is willing to sell NBC?" Sid Bass asked, glancing at Michael Eisner. Michael Eisner nodded. As a major Hollywood studio, Disney is certainly more suited to manage NBC. It's just that Jack Welch wants to sell half of his shares to Disney, while also handing over the content production business to Disney. Currently, NBC is managed by General Electric's vice chairman, Bob Wright, who will continue to manage NBC. Michael Eisner agreed. Acquiring half the shares would save Disney money, and with a financial backer like General Electric, the risk would be much lower. Furthermore, Disney would be responsible for content production, and NBC's distribution system would help Disney's works be better distributed. Half the shares, Sid Bass frowned. Having the risk meant having the returns. NBC had failed to demonstrate its value in GE's hands, and Hollywood was the undisputed king of content. Convene a board meeting and discuss this. Meanwhile, Aaron, who was in Palm Springs with Catherine Zeta-Jones, brought her to Las Vegas, Nevada. In a suite at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas, which just opened last year, Aaron rolled off Catherine Zeta-Jones. Compared to the world of decadence and extravagance, Las Vegas is indeed number one. Catherine Zeta-Jones was sweating profusely, panting as she leaned against the man's chest and smiled slightly. Is MGM a film company now, or a casino hotel? After Kirk Kerkorian acquired MGM Films in the early days, he opened the MGM Casino Hotel. Now, the lion logo and the name of the MGM-branded casino hotel are also well known. Sony originally wanted to acquire MGM, but unfortunately Kirk Kerkorian refused to return the MGM brands and the lion logo, so the acquisition came to nothing. Aaron shook his head. It's all there is to it. MGM's only real value right now is the brands and the lion, and United Artists Film Library, including the James Bond rights. If Aaron remembered correctly, Kirk Kerkorian would soon acquire MGM for the third time. He also had a penchant for acquiring film libraries, acquiring rights from companies like Carlock, Samuel Gwen, and Orion. Unfortunately, MGM no longer had a chance. The Orion and Samuel Gwen Films libraries were now owned by Dawn, and nearly 2,500 feature films were already Dawn's assets. Catherine Zeta-Jones had long hair like black ink, showing off her charming style. She propped up her head and kissed Aaron on the face. "Well, now Dawn has completely surpassed MGM. Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction are two movies that cannot be avoided this year. Plus, Jim Carrey's Ace Ventura and The Mask are also box office hits, so Dawn's performance this year is better than in previous years." "Okay, let's go eat something and then go to the casino to have some fun," Aaron said, stroking the girl's body a few times. "Since we are in Las Vegas, we have to have some fun." Catherine Zeta-Jones smiled. "Well, I'll go take a shower first." At this time, when Disney was preparing for a board meeting to discuss whether to acquire half of NBC's shares, the New Yorker magazine broke in important internal news of Disney. The New Yorker published an article that detailed the whole process of Jeffrey Katzenberg being expelled from Disney by Michael Eisner. The story portrayed Jeffrey Katzenberg as a capable victim, while Michael Eisner was portrayed as jealous and irascible. Newspapers reprinted the story, causing Disney's media reputation to plummet and infuriating Michael Eisner. Disney's majority shareholder, Sid Bass, wanted Disney to acquire NBC in full, dissatisfied with General Electric's offer of only a 49% stake in content production rights. This prompted Michael Eisner to continue negotiations with GE's Jack Welch. The success of The Lion King further elevated Jeffrey Katzenberg's profile, but now he has left Disney to form DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. The media hype only intensified Michael Eisner's sense of threat. The trio formed by Jeffrey Katzenberg was no ordinary trio, and as one of the people who knew Disney best, DreamWorks SKG was sure to be a formidable competitor. To make matters worse, Jeffrey Katzenberg's DreamWorks and NBC acquisitions were also facing setbacks, and Disney was forced to cancel its new Disneyland project in Northern Virginia. Disney had originally planned to build another theme park in Northern Virginia, but it faced widespread opposition, including from wealthy local business people. These individuals, leveraging their influence in Washington, sued, alleging the project would damage historic landmarks and the environment, accusing Disney of desecrating this historic site. The Washington Post even declared, "Michael Eisner is the man who destroyed American history." In a luxurious Beverly Hills villa, Jeffrey Katzenberg sat on a sofa, flipping through a newspaper, a faint smile playing on his lips. The New Yorker's work, of course, was Jeffrey Katzenberg's. He then pulled out his phone and dialed another number. "Good evening, Mr. Katzenberg. Oh, by the way, Michael Eisner just had heart surgery some time ago. I think the shareholders will be concerned about the issue of Disney's successor." There was silence on the phone for a while. "I see." After Jeffrey Katzenberg hung up the phone, his expression did not change at all. Now that he had already torn his face with Disney, there was nothing more to say. Chapter 302 The Biggest Rival? Burbank, Dawn Headquarters. Aaron sat in his office, put down the newspaper, and laughed. Jeffrey Katzenberg's hatred for Disney is truly immense. Dawn Steele nodded beside him. Disney has a near monopoly in the animation field, and the profits it's reaped are the envy of countless others. Jeffrey Katzenberg brought together David Geffen and Steven Spielberg to form DreamWorks SKG. The purpose is self-evident. Already, some Disney people have begun to align themselves with Jeffrey Katzenberg. DreamWorks SKG is poised to challenge Disney's animation business. This is an indisputable fact. Aaron knocked on the table. Not only that, but Jeffrey Katzenberg's actions are also making Michael Eisner very uncomfortable. He's unwilling to acknowledge Jeffrey Katzenberg's excellence, and he's even less optimistic about the future of DreamWorks SKG. He hasn't expressed any opinion on the establishment of DreamWorks. It's important to remember that Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg have known each other for nearly 20 years. The formation of DreamWorks SKG unleashed a fierce competitive fire in Michael Eisner. The battle between Disney and DreamWorks was about to begin, and it was poised to intensify. Adding fuel to the fire was Michael Eisner's unquenchable hostility toward Jeffrey Katzenberg and a desire to see him fail. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Katzenberg harbored a resentment toward Michael Eisner, feeling a sense of embarrassment after being framed. "By the way, how's Panasonic doing?" Dawn Steele, understanding what Aaron was asking about, shook his head. "No concrete news. Panasonic's board is still deliberating, and our assets valuation of MCA Worldwide is still ongoing. I'll be staying in New York for quite some time. You'll need to keep an eye on Suzuki Studios," Aaron said. Suzuki Studios in Los Angeles boasted approximately 10 sound stages and supporting facilities, along with several locations, which served both its own needs and were also rented out to other productions. Aaron's main focus now is completing Suzuki's merger with MCA. Dawn Steele smiled. "Don't worry, with Brad Gray and Tom Rothman's help, Dawn will be fine." Seeing his confidence, Aaron felt reassured. Everyone now believed DreamWorks SKG would be a formidable rival to Disney, poised to break its monopoly on animation. This was because DreamWorks SKG was led by Jeffrey Katzenberg, whose impeccable track record at Disney was enough to convince everyone. Who could have imagined that Pixar, where Aaron had been staying behind the scenes, would release its first 3D computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, next year? Aaron pondered, "I wonder what Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg's expressions will be like when Toy Story comes out next year. I'm so excited." Is DreamWorks SKG really Disney's biggest rival? Newspaper reports of concerns about the health of Disney chairman Michael Eisner caused significant fluctuations in Disney's stock price. Michael Eisner was now Disney's chairman, CEO, and president, wielding all the power. Succession was a crucial consideration. Michael Eisner's previous appointments, including Peter Schneider, head of Disney Animation, Joe Roth, head of Disney Films, and Rich Frank, head of Disney Television and Home Entertainment, were all dissatisfied. To allay shareholder concerns, Michael Eisner once again began lobbying his old friend and childhood neighbor, Michael Ovitz, chairman of CAA. Sitting across from each other in a Japanese restaurant in Beverly Hills, Michael Eisner and Michael Ovitz said, whether Seagram can acquire MCA Universal remains uncertain. Don't forget, Aaron Anderson's Dawn is the new face of Hollywood. Even if Seagram succeeds, what will the outcome be? You'll be at the mercy of the ruthless and capricious Bronfman family. Michael Eisner had repeatedly invited this friend to join Disney, to assist him there. But now Michael Ovitz was determined to help Seagram acquire MCA and ensure the Bronfman family fulfilled their promise. Michael Ovitz simply smiled, raised his glass, and clinked it with the other man's. Right now, I'm mainly busy with the MCA acquisition. I'm also Panasonic's transaction advisor. I really don't have time to think about anything else. Besides, I have CAA to manage. Michael Ovitz was also somewhat flustered by Sugan's involvement. If Seagram acquired MCA Universal, he would instantly become the chairman of one of Hollywood's 6 major studios. If Sugan acquired MCA, it would definitely have nothing to do with him. Aaron Anderson's fame was enough to overshadow anyone. Michael Eisner had lobbied him many times, but his sincerity was completely lacking, and most of the time it ended in failure. Compared to the promises made by Edgar Bronfman Jr., the chips Disney offered were far too low. Michael Eisner took a sip of his drink and shrugged. He would never allow Michael Ovitz to become the next Jeffrey Katzenberg. He couldn't afford him much real power. Now, Michael Eisner wasn't so anxious anymore. The Dawn was the variable in Seagram's acquisition of MCA. Aaron Anderson's involvement was a favor to him. That evening, at a bar in West Hollywood, Aaron embraced Jennifer Aniston as they danced, kissing her passionately and feeling the girl's heat. Annie, 3 episodes of Friends Season 1 have been aired, and the reputation is quite good. The ratings are getting higher and higher. Jennifer Aniston leaned against the man, a little surprised. You are still following it? Aaron smiled, then rubbed the girl's waist. Of course, I said before, I am very optimistic about this sitcom. Besides, NBC has already renewed it for the 2nd season. After the 1st season is over, Friends will definitely be a big hit. Jennifer Aniston nodded. Before the premiere last month, the company arranged for our crew members to go to Las Vegas for team building. The producer also said that now the 6 of us leading actors have finally appeared as ordinary people, and we will become big stars in the future. Currently, Jennifer Aniston and 6 other actors starred in Friends Season 1 and signed a contract with a salary of $22,500 per episode. Friends Season 1 has 25 episodes, which means that each person can get a total salary of $560,000. Aaron leaned over to Jennifer Aniston's ear and blew a breath. In the first episode, you appeared in a wedding dress. It was so stunning. In the future, Rachel Green's name will definitely be a household name. Jennifer Aniston kissed the man on the face again, as long as you like it. Chapter 303 Selfishness. In the morning, at the Bel Air Villa, Aaron, sleeping in his bedroom with Jennifer Aniston in his arms, received a call from Jack Wells. What's up, Jack? Aaron, I got a tip. Ronald Meyer, the president of CAA, is $12 million in gambling debts from Las Vegas casinos. Ronald Meyer, this guy does have a gambling addiction, but this shouldn't be a big deal, right? Aaron said, and suddenly Jennifer Aniston woke up in his arms and kissed him on the cheek. Then, with a sly smile, she dove directly into the covers. Yes, Ronald Meyer has a lot of complaints about Michael Ovitz. Huh? Aaron exhaled deeply. Jack, where are you now? It seemed that things weren't so harmonious between Michael Ovitz and Ronald Meyer within CAA. Angel Base in Texas. I'll come back to Los Angeles to see you tonight, okay? After saying this, Aaron put down his phone, opened the quilt, and reached out to touch Jennifer Aniston's hair. In the evening, Jack Wells came to the Dawn headquarters in Los Angeles from the Angels base in Texas. In the office, Aaron handed Jack Wells a glass of whiskey. How could Ronald Meyer not even have 10 million? Jack Wells smiled. This guy has always had the habit of going to Las Vegas to gamble, and he has lost a lot in recent years. His income from CAA can't support this kind of expenses. A few years ago, Michael Ovitz helped him solve a $5 million gambling debt. Aaron nodded. After the reform of CAA, Michael Ovitz became a major shareholder, and his income increased dramatically. As one of the remaining founding fathers, Ronald Meyer seems to have less and less influence. Jack Wells took a sip of wine. The old guy has been dissatisfied with Michael Ovitz for a long time. When CAA assisted Panasonic in acquiring MCA, It received tens of millions of dollars in consulting fees. Michael Ovitz alone accounted for more than half of this fee, and the rest of CAA, including Ronald Mayer, shared the remaining small half. Later, Michael Ovitz appointed himself the CEO of CAA, and gave orders to Ronald Mayer with the attitude of a superior to a subordinate. Jack Wells looked at Aaron and shrugged. We have all been in CAA, and CAA's principles do not allow for class concepts. Michael Ovitz's actions, of course, made Ronald Mayer even more dissatisfied. Moreover, when Michael Ovitz helped Ronald Mayer settle the $5 million gambling debt, he also mortgaged his future income. Aaron took a sip of wine. His expression didn't change much. The Jews value money more than anything else. Is Michael Ovitz going to use his own money to help him? Jack Wells continued. This time, Ronald Mayer hopes Michael Ovitz can help solve his $10 million gambling debt like last time, but Michael Ovitz seems to want him to use his shares in CAA as collateral. Aaron's eyes lit up. Michael Ovitz wants to get his shares. How do you know all this? Jack Wells spread his hands. I have a private detective who monitored the phone call of a female star, who happened to be one of Ronald Mayer's mistresses. Oh, I see. Aaron understood. It must be what Ronald Mayer said when he was talking to his mistress on the phone. Complaining about Michael Ovitz. Is there any information about Panasonic selling MCA? Aaron was still concerned about MCA. Jack Wells shook his head. I have asked people to continue monitoring, but Ronald Mayer basically did not participate in this kind of acquisition transaction. In the early days, Sony and Panasonic acquired Columbia, Samsung and MCA respectively, which were all handled by Michael Ovitz himself, and this time is the same. Although CAA provided assistance, it was all auxiliary work. Aaron thought about it. In his previous life, Ronald Mayer joined Universal alone after Seagram acquired MCA, while Michael Ovitz was abandoned by Universal and joined Disney. Ronald Mayer, who joined Universal, was very successful, while Michael Ovitz's situation was hard to describe. After being humiliated by Michael Eisner, he was kicked out of Disney. Ronald Mayer never stopped targeting Michael Ovitz afterwards. Michael Ovitz is not only selfish, but also strong and domineering, and he is also despicable enough. How can such a person have friends? Aaron stretched. If Ronald Mayer has any important information to reveal, Sugan can make him a promise. Jack Wells narrowed his eyes. Then I'll go contact him. Aaron nodded. Michael Ovitz is acting as a bridge between Panasonic and Seagram. This guy is too arrogant. There's news from Blackstone that Panasonic seems to be waiting for Sugan and Seagram to bid. It's still unclear how strong Seagram's idea of acquiring MCA is. Aaron was worried that Edgar Bronfman Jr. would get carried away and be determined to bid regardless of the price in order to acquire MCA. If Edgar Bronfman Jr. was determined to acquire MCA, it would be just like when Summer Redstone and Barry Diller competed for Paramount last year. Barry Diller's fame was big enough, but how could it compare to Summer Redstone's real money? Aaron didn't think he had the ability to compete with Edgar Bronfman Jr. in financial strength. Aaron, don't worry too much. In fact, the Bronfman family doesn't really approve of Edgar Bronfman Jr. acquiring Hollywood studios. Aaron shook his head. It's different. It's Edgar Bronfman Jr. who's in charge of Seagram now. He's the CEO. Although Edgar Bronfman Sr. is still the chairman of the board, he really likes his second son and has always supported him. Edgar Bronfman Jr. had previously announced his intention to sell his DuPont stock and lead Seagram into new areas. At that time, no one within Seagram opposed his move. Perhaps if Edgar Bronfman Jr.'s bid for MCA had exceeded the financial constraints of the other Bronfman family members within Seagram, they would have faced resistance. Okay, let's go have a drink. I'm going to New York tomorrow, Aaron said, patting Jack Wells on the shoulder. It's a good time to talk about the Houston Rockets. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 300. For more information. At the Plaza Hotel in New York City, Aaron and Peter Peterson, chairman of Blackstone Group, met with representatives from Chase Manhattan, Salomon Brothers, Bear Stearns, Merrill Lynch, and J.P. Morgan to discuss Sugan's acquisition of MCA. Ladies and gentlemen, according to my estimates, MCA's valuation hasn't changed much from a few years ago, and you can all see Panasonic's losses over the past few years. I believe Panasonic's current plan is to recoup the acquisition funds. Sony recently released Columbia Samsung's financial statements, showing a $2.7 billion reduction in Columbia Samsung's accounts. In less than 5 years, Sony will have written off $2.7 billion in losses on Columbia Samsung, Aaron said, taking a sip of water. Facing these Wall Street giants, he felt no pressure. Their combined wealth was less than his own. Thomas Labrick, chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank, which has always cooperated with Suzuki, showed great interest. Aaron, Universal's losses on the MCA side are not small either, just like the Waterworld that just wrapped filming, which has become a laughingstock in entertainment newspapers. Our long-term partner Steven Spielberg has gone to form DreamWorks SKG. We are a little worried about the future of Universal, Aaron shrugged and smiled. What are you worried about? Are you worried that I can't revive Universal? As for Suzuki's rate of return, everyone knows that in Hollywood, Aaron Anderson's name represents box office. At this time, Peter Peterson on the side also spoke up. After Suzuki acquires MCA, it will issue a convertible bond of the new company. At the same time, after successfully merging with MCA, Aaron will immediately reorganize and then go public as soon as possible. The group will distribute preferred shares based on the capital investment, Thomas Labrick nodded. Chase Manhattan can provide at least $500 million to $700 million in cash loans. Later, banks like Merrill Lynch and Salomon Brothers also agreed to support Sugan, provided Aaron Anderson guaranteed their IPO plan. That evening, as they were leaving the hotel, Peter Peterson patted Aaron on the shoulder and said, "Sugan's performance in Hollywood is enough to impress anyone. We're confident in acquiring MCA Group." Aaron smiled and said, "Even if we can't acquire them, I'm confident that Sugan will become the largest film group in Hollywood in the future." If they truly lost to Seagram, Aaron would immediately shift his focus and attack TBS or CBS. Elsewhere, in Long Beach, Los Angeles, Jack Wells and Ronald Meyer met at a private beachside club. "Jack, tell me, what do you want?" When Jack Wells offered to help resolve a $10 million debt, Ronald Meyer knew he had something to ask for. The former CAA agent assistant had now risen to become the head of several companies. Angel Security, with clients across Hollywood, was one of the most prestigious bodyguard companies in the United States. Jack Wells smiled. "You know, I've always been with Dawn. Now that Dawn is acquiring MCA Group, its biggest competitor is Seagram. You know CAA's position and role within it better than I do." Ronald Meyer had long suspected that Jack Wells had come to him regarding Aaron Anderson's acquisition of MCA. With Anderson's financial resources, he could easily provide a $10 million loan to tide him over. "Jack, you know Michael Ovitz handles all CAA mergers and acquisitions. No one else can get involved." Michael Ovitz and Herbert Allen were the primary intermediaries in Panasonic's sale of MCA. No one knows what agreement Seagram's Edgar Bronfman Jr. had with Michael Ovitz. Ronald Meyer felt helpless. He had traveled to Japan to meet with Panasonic executives and handle the various agreements for the transaction. Michael Ovitz handled all of this himself. Although he was the president of CAA, his primary management responsibility was artist management. Jack Wells frowned. "We need more intelligence from Seagram, such as the Bronfman family's attitude towards MCA, the price range they can accept, and their handling of DuPont stock, etc. You are the president of CAA and a longtime friend of Michael Ovitz. I believe we can always get some information." Ronald Meyer was about to speak when Jack Wells interrupted him with a wave of his hand. "Tomorrow, you go to Westpac Bank. They will provide you with a low-interest credit loan of $10 million US. As he said that, he deliberately glanced at Ronald Meyer. "CAA has Michael Ovitz. You will never get a chance. 60% of the profits of the entire CAA will go to him, and you and others will share 40%. Are you really willing to accept this? If Dawn successfully acquires MCA Universal, with Aaron's ability, he will definitely dominate Hollywood. You should understand what I mean, right?" Ronald Meyer smiled. "What if Dawn's acquisition fails?" Jack Wells looked at him disdainfully. "Oh, the acquisition failed. You don't think any rich second generation can run a large Hollywood film group, do you? With Dawn's current momentum, who in Hollywood can stop it?" Ronald Meyer pondered. No matter what, he certainly couldn't fall out with Aaron Anderson. Regardless of whether Dawn could acquire MCA, Dawn would definitely have a place in the future of Hollywood. He then nodded and said, "I'll let you know when there's news, but don't get your hopes up. There's a lot of inside information that only Michael Ovitz knows, and he won't tell me." Jack Wells curled his lips. "Okay, just do your own thing. You should avoid Las Vegas." After Ronald Meyer left, Jack Wells shook his head. He didn't know why Aaron thought a gambler could help. A while later, Jack Wells and his girlfriend Uma Thurman left the club together. Is there a new movie to be filmed? Uma Thurman nodded. Yes, it's a romance. Jack Wells looked at him. The height of Pulp Fiction has really increased your popularity, especially the movie poster of you lying on the bed with your legs crossed, a cigarette in your mouth, and a dreamy look in your eyes will definitely become one of the classic posters in film history. Pulp Fiction also stars actresses such as Madonna Ciccone and Christiana Yerry, but the most stunning one is definitely the gangster's mistress played by Uma Thurman. Chapter 305 It Deserves to Go Bankrupt. New York, Manhattan, Dawn Pictures. Aaron sat in his office chair, flipping through several scripts, all of which were projects Dawn was preparing to film. Is Michael Bay still revising the script for The Rock? Aaron asked without looking up. Esther Beckett nodded. Yes, he is still revising it. However, Michael Bay really likes British actor Sean Connery and hopes to invite him to play the leading man. Aaron smiled. 007, Sean Connery is a tough guy, so he really fits the role. Let's start preparing as soon as possible. Then Aaron raised another action film script in his hand, Broken Arrow. This one is a bit like a two-hero story, which is suitable for Chinese director John Woo to direct. I heard that the blood and tears of Chinese laborers' history is over budget. Aaron knew that John Woo was one of the producers of the blood and tears of Chinese laborers' history. Yes, it's overspent. The original budget was a maximum of $12 million, but by now, we've run out of money. Mr. Tom Rothman believes the slow production schedule is the main reason. The production team persuaded British investors to add an additional $3 million. The Blood and Tears of Chinese Laborers was originally a joint venture between Crescent Films, a subsidiary of Dawning, and British investors. Now that they've added another $3 million, Dawning can't just sit back and say nothing, right? Okay, provide the funds so the film can be completed on time, Aaron agreed. Director King, who pays close attention to detail in his films, and the filming schedule is indeed slow. Well, then, boss, are you going to give the script for Broken Arrow to John Woo? Although Woo's previous film, The Target, wasn't well received, it had solid action sequences and was a commercial success. He was even considered for the MGM United Artists film Golden Eye, but ultimately, New Zealand director Martin Campbell was chosen. Great, let him direct. Aaron's perspective on John Woo and Michael Bay was similar. Either director of The Rock or Broken Arrow would be equally successful. By the way, boss, do you remember director Roland Emmerich? Esther Beckett suddenly inquired. Of course I do. Did Idron give him the script for Twister? A disaster special effects blockbuster. Well, Roland Emmerich has indeed read the script, but he has his own ideas. He's working on a script about an alien invasion, and he hopes Dawn will support him, Esther Beckett said, handing Aaron a copy. Aaron was stunned for a moment, then he took the script and opened it directly. Well, Independence Day. In the future world, aliens invade the Earth, causing great panic and harm to mankind. The President of the United States, he widened his eyes. This is a science fiction disaster blockbuster. Roland Emmerich wants to shoot this movie. Yes, it's also a special effects blockbuster. Aaron was very excited. He had planned to let Roland Emmerich direct Twister, but now that he has Independence Day, it would be fine to find someone else to direct Twister. I remember that Roland Emmerich directed a sci-fi adventure film called Stargate last year. When will it be released? S3 Beckett responded. It will be released at the end of this month, at the same time as our Twilight film's Garage Throat. The producer is Carlock Pictures, and the distributor is MGM United Artists, who are working with him. However, Carlock sold the rights to Stargate and they're currently filming Showgirls because of the serious overspending on the filming of Cutthroat Island, and obtained funds from the distributor MGM and the French investor Canal+. Aaron raised his eyebrows. Carlock has already sold the rights to Stargate, and even the Showgirls that Paul Verhoeven is currently filming. Paul Verhoeven originally wanted to shoot The Crusades with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Carlock didn't have that much budget, so he filmed Showgirls, an erotic film about Las Vegas strippers. It doesn't matter that Showgirls is still filming, but I didn't expect Carlock to even sell the rights to Stargate, just for this Cutthroat Island, which had constant problems during filming? Oh, Carlock really should go bankrupt. The concept of Independence Day is very good. Since Roland Emmerich wants to make it, Su Guang should invest. Besides, the budget Roland Emmerich needs is also good. $75 million is acceptable. Unexpectedly, Roland Emmerich has already come up with a script for Independence Day. This sci-fi blockbuster is a surefire hit. That night, Aaron arrived at a nightclub on Greenwich Street, where Jack Wells was waiting for Aaron. "We have lent Ronald Mayer $10 million through Westpac Bank," Aaron nodded. This guy was completely overshadowed by Michael Ovitz and CAA. CAA is now the largest agency in Hollywood after all, and he is the second largest shareholder there, but he doesn't even have $10 million. Jack Wells smiled. He is very dissatisfied with Michael Ovitz now. CAA is basically a one-man show by Michael Ovitz, and the distribution of benefits is completely uneven. It's just that Ronald Mayer knows too little about Panasonic's sale of MCA. It doesn't matter. Ronald Mayer will definitely be able to pay back the $10 million. After all, his shares in CAA are worth more than that, Aaron said as he took a sip of wine. "Anything else happened when you came to New York this time?" "Yes, Angel acquired 40% of the shares of IMG Sports Agency," Jack Wells smiled. "You know, Angel International has made some money in the past few years. Angel Security commands over half of Hollywood's celebrity bodyguard business, and with its involvement in international arms trade, Angel Security has become a significant company." Aaron shrugged. "That's great. We can slowly chip away at IMG, and then completely take control of it. Angel's security business and IMG's agency business are very complementary." "Yes, you've said before that the sports agency market is already huge," Jack Wells said, taking Aaron's advice seriously. Although he hadn't been involved much in Dawn, thanks to Aaron, the Angel company he now oversees is enough to make him extremely wealthy. Chapter 306, Underestimating the Dawn. "By the way, is there any news from Edgar Bronfman Jr.? Or is he personally going to Japan?" Aaron asked Jack Wells, sitting on a sofa in a dimly lit bar, enjoying the performance. "Well, not really. Edgar Bronfman Jr. hangs out with Michael Ovitz and Herbert Allen. In fact, it's speculated that there are quite a few Bronfman family members within Seagram who oppose the acquisition." Aaron nodded. "Well, it seems we still have to rely on our strength. This year, Shu Guang's films, including Ace Ventura, My Best Friend's Wedding, Interview with a Vampire, Forrest Gump, The Mask, and Pulp Fiction, have been a success, and their popularity is growing. Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction are particularly popular, arguably the most discussed works. In particular, Sugan's acquisition of MCA Group was being hyped by the media as an American attempt to reclaim a company acquired by the Japanese. Apart from other factors, the public support alone was unwavering. At the Pure Hotel on Manhattan's Upper East Side, Aaron, accompanied by Monica Bellucci, was at a cocktail party hosted by Time Warner and happened to run into Edgar Bronfman Jr., CEO of the Seagram Group. "Aaron, this should be our first official meeting, right?" Edgar Bronfman Jr. smiled and politely shook Aaron's hand. Aaron smiled. "Yes, it is indeed the first formal meeting. After all, I started working in Hollywood, and Seagram is a liquor group." Edgar Bronfman Jr. spread his hands. "Actually, I can be considered a person in the entertainment industry. After all, I have been a film producer, wrote songs, and formed a band. It's just that my previous career was just some small-scale business, which is nothing compared to the Dawn that you founded." Aaron took a sip of wine. "Well, you can't say that. Seagram almost acquired Time Warner before. If it weren't for the death of Steve Ross, the former chairman of Time Warner, Seagram might have become the largest shareholder of Time Warner. Hollywood is booming, and the global market has unlimited potential. I'm really optimistic," Edgar Bronfman Jr. said, patting Aaron on the shoulder. "Seagram is determined to acquire MCA Universal. Now that your Suzuki Group is thriving, why add to the burden?" "Really?" Aaron stared at Edgar Bronfman Jr., his lips curled up. "It seems we're going to repeat last year's experience of Viacom and QVC bidding for Paramount." Edgar Bronfman Jr. shrugged. "You know, acquiring MCA is no problem for Seagram. Seagram has a lot of cash. They can directly acquire MCA without any financing." Aaron nodded and patted him on the shoulder meaningfully. "Hollywood has its own code of conduct. Besides, you really underestimate Suzuki Group." With that, Aaron left. Who gave Edgar Bronfman Jr. the confidence? Michael Ovitz, or Yoichi Morishita? Aaron then ran into Peter Guber, the former co-CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment. After a brief chat, Aaron returned to Monica Bellucci's side. The papers recently reported that Sony Pictures Entertainment suffered a $2.7 billion loss, the largest loss for a film company ever. "It seems Japanese companies have paid a heavy price for acquiring your American company." Monica Bellucci, arm in arm, beamed, her 30-60 figure making Aaron somewhat distracted. Aaron casually said, "Oh, John Peters and Peter Guber, those two guys are really screwing Sony. Back then, when Sony poached these two from Warner Brothers, they paid for half of the Warner Brothers studio complex in Burbank. Aaron kissed the woman on the lips. Monica Bellucci had just finished filming the thriller The Black Hole in Toronto. Furthermore, at the end of the month, she was starring in the Twilight Pictures horror film Garage, which was also set to be released. After Philadelphia, Monica Bellucci finally had a Hollywood lead role. After a passionate kiss, Monica Bellucci embraced the man, somewhat reluctantly. Aaron, the vacation villa on Lake Como in Italy has been renovated. Would you like to go check it out? I can keep you company. Previously, when Monica Bellucci returned to Italy, Aaron had specifically asked her to look for a vacation villa on Lake Como. Don't worry, there's a chance, Aaron smiled, putting his arm around the woman's waist. Let's go back. Yes, hey, that's Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone. As they left the hotel, they happened to see the two being interviewed. Aaron glanced casually. Warner Brothers action film bomb expert just opened last week. Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone are the lead actors. However, Bomb Expert opened in 2,522 theaters, grossing only $14 million over its first 3 days, earning poor reviews. It was undoubtedly another underperforming film for Stallone. As for Sharon Stone, after catapulting her to fame with Basic Instinct, last year's erotic film Voyeur did break the $100 million global box office. However, Bomb Expert featured her and Stallone in a sexually explicit scene, which generated considerable publicity. However, Bomb Expert received poor reviews, and their scenes were even named one of the top 10 sexual failures in Hollywood by Empire magazine. The magazine also dubbed Sharon Stone the queen of erotic film trash. In the back seat of the car, Monica Bellucci leaned in the man's arms. Aaron, don't you like Sharon Stone? Because she found that when Aaron saw Sharon Stone, he obviously had a feeling of disgust. Don't like it? Why? No reason. Aaron shook his head, then reached out and rubbed the girl's arms. At this year's Venice Film Festival, there was an Italian drama The Postman that was pretty good, you know. Well, I know. Crescent Pictures seems to have bought the North American distribution rights, Monica Bellucci said and sent a kiss directly. Well, Aaron also responded enthusiastically while hugging the sexy Monica Bellucci on his body. Chapter 307, American Dream spokesperson. Aaron Anderson, he's just a young kid. How dare he compete with Seagram for MCA? In the Pierre Hotel's upper-level suite, Edgar Bronfman Jr. sat on the sofa, his face etched with rage. Herbert Allen, sitting across from him, could only sigh softly. It can't be helped. Aaron Anderson is now an idol for young people across America, the face of the American dream. He also has a close relationship with President Clinton. The White House has mentioned him numerous times, and he has a strong appeal among young people. Of course, most importantly, Aaron Anderson's abilities were immense. In just a few years, Suzuki had become a force to be reckoned with, rivaling the 6 major Hollywood studios. With hit films released annually, Suzuki was now a Hollywood icon. Why couldn't such a company acquire MCA? Eisner has already said that Panasonic's offer for MCA is likely to be significantly higher due to the competition. Seagram's acquisition of MCA will cost even more, and with Sugan's exposure, they've added another competitor. Edgar Bronfman Jr. was naturally furious. He had originally wanted to leverage Michael Ovitz's connections to quickly acquire MCA, and the price wouldn't have been much higher than expected. But now, Sugan, Polly Graham, Bertelsmann, and others had all expressed their intentions. However, the 6 major Hollywood studios were the gateway to American culture, and any acquisition would require Washington. Edgar Bronfman Jr. didn't believe the other party possessed the Bronfman family's political resources. Elsewhere, Aaron and Monica Bellucci returned to their Upper East Side villa on East 72nd Street and took a bath together. Massimo Trossi, the director and star of The Postman, passed away in June of this year due to illness, not long after filming Wrapped. What a shame. Massimo Trossi didn't make it to the film's release. In a luxurious bathtub, the voluptuous Monica Bellucci leaned against Aaron's arms, reminiscing about the Italian film The Postman. Aaron stroked the woman's 30-60 breasts and said, "It's a shame indeed." The Postman was recommended by Giuseppe Tornatore. In fact, the film that caught Aaron's attention at this year's Venice International Film Festival was the Golden Lion-nominated Chinese film, In the Sun. Director Giuseppe Tornatore, "What a great director," Monica Bellucci said, knowing that he was the winner of the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. who was famous for his film Cinema Paradiso. Aaron smiled, lowered his head, and kissed the woman in his arms. Then he said, Giuseppe Tornatore is filming a new film next year, New Paradiso, and Crescent Films is the North American investor. You'll play the female lead. It's an Italian comedy. Aaron and Tornatore had known each other for several years, having collaborated on Cinema Paradiso. Later, Aaron arranged for Jennifer Connelly to guest star in his film Family Trip, and Tornatore co-produced the American version of Scent of a Woman. Giuseppe Tornatore's works are highly artistic, though his output is limited. Ah, really? Monica Bellucci was naturally eager to work with Tornatore. Her previous Italian films had been little more than just a vase, showcasing her figure. Of course, because Sugan was planning to acquire MCA, Aaron, in New York, was meeting frequently with Wall Street banks and fund managers. Not only American banks, but also European investment funds were interested in Sugan. At Cheyenne Fund, located in a skyscraper near Times Square, AOL CEO Steve Case suddenly visited Aaron Anderson. Steve, what's up? Aaron owned a 4.85% stake in AOL, whose market capitalization now exceeded $1 billion, representing a multifold increase on his investment. Steve Case sighed. Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen wanted to acquire AOL, but was rejected. He owns 25% of AOL. I'm hoping you can help redeem Paul Allen shares. AOL's online services had caught Microsoft's attention, and Bill Gates had made it clear, either get acquired by Microsoft or be crushed by Microsoft. Aaron tapped the table. How much funding do you need? Paul Allen wants $300 million, and we've already raised $180 million, so, you can only buy back 15% of Paul Allen shares now. Steve Case nodded. Okay, I'll have Sugan acquire the remaining 10%. Aaron had previously borrowed 15 billion yen from Sakura Bank, roughly $170 million. A $120 million acquisition of 10% of AOL wouldn't be a problem. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, it'll pass. Microsoft's target won't be AOL soon. Steve Case's eyes lit up. Are you talking about Netscape, which was founded this year? Netscape's Mosaic Netscape browser had become a huge hit. Although Microsoft also valued online services and was about to launch MSN to compete with AOL, once Netscape's browser took off, Microsoft would shift its focus. Yes, Microsoft's next-generation operating system is about to be released, and they won't allow Netscape's browser to dominate the market, Aaron said, knowing that Microsoft would develop Internet Explorer next. Anyway, we've already achieved our goal by rejecting Paul Allen's acquisition offer. Steve Case disliked Microsoft deeply, but he had no choice. After all, it was a conglomerate with a market capitalization of nearly $40 billion. After Steve Case left, Aaron made a phone call. Su Guang certainly wouldn't refuse a 10% stake in AOL. Aaron leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. Microsoft's development was truly rapid. He believed the release of Windows 95 next year would trigger another surge in the stock price. Over the past few years, Aaron had increased his holdings in Microsoft during its various stock splits. Cheyenne Fund currently owns 0.81% of Microsoft, worth nearly $300 million. Aaron walked to the window, overlooking the renovated Times Square. It was indeed much cleaner and tidier. Paul Allen, it seemed, was also an investor in DreamWorks SKG. He wondered if the trio of Jeffrey Katzenberg, Steven Spielberg, and David Geffen had reached out to Paul Allen. Chapter 308 The Difficulty of Dawn. With Halloween approaching, New York City's annual Halloween parade will begin in Greenwich Village on Manhattan's west side. The streets of Manhattan are adorned with spooky Halloween decorations, and department stores are busy stocking their windows with festive gifts and clothing, attracting crowds of people. Supermarkets and street markets also display pumpkins of all sizes for sale. That evening, Aaron and Christiana Yeri went to a bar on Greenwich Street to hang out. Is the second Victoria's Secret fashion show about to start? Christiana Yeri had been busy preparing for it lately. Yes, we have developed a very good gimmick this year. A diamond underwear worth $1 million will make a stunning appearance. Aaron smiled. I guess it will attract everyone's attention by then. Who said it wouldn't? Christiana Yeri kissed the man on the face. Do you want to go and have a look then? Aaron took a sip of wine. I may not have much time. Maybe I have to go to Japan, because they received news that Edgar Bronfman Jr. and Michael Ovitz and others went to Panasonic headquarters in Osaka, Japan. Well, Now Forrest Gump's North American box office has surpassed Disney's The Lion King, breaking $300 million. That's awesome, Christiana Yerry said, sitting directly in Aaron's arms. It's also over $300 million overseas, and the global box office has exceeded $600 million. Aaron kissed the girl on the mouth and explained, unfortunately, Disney's The Lion King has already grossed $290 million in North America, and has even surpassed $400 million overseas. Speaking of which, Forrest Gump is definitely not as good as The Lion King. Moreover, with the upcoming revenue from television broadcasts, video sales, and merchandise licensing, The Lion King's back-end revenue is simply incomparable to Forrest Gump's. We also have The Mask, My Best Friend's Wedding, Interview with a Vampire, and Ace Ventura. Don's performance this year is absolutely impeccable, and then there's Pulp Fiction, currently in theaters and starring Christiana Yerry, which is also a highly profitable film. Xu Guang has an action film, Broken Arrow, in the works. Filming is expected to begin next year. The director is Chinese director John Woo, the same Hong Kong director who directed The Hard Target. You can play the female lead, a policewoman. For so long, Christiana Yerry hadn't fought for anything on her own behalf. Now that she'd mastered English, it seemed like the time had come for her to take on a major role. Okay, all yours, Christiana Yerry smiled and proactively covered the man's lips. Meanwhile, at a board meeting at Disney headquarters in Burbank, Los Angeles, Michael Eisner's plan to acquire a 49% stake in NBC was officially rejected. This was because Sid Bass, a major Disney shareholder, objected. He wasn't optimistic about General Electric's desire to retain management rights for at least 2 years. Sid Bass rejected Michael Eisner's proposal. Michael Eisner, though frustrated, had chosen a new target. Is Disney's next target ABC or CBS? Sid Bass asked Michael Eisner from his seat on the sofa in his office. CBS, right? A merger of ABC and C Metropolitan would be too big. Acquiring C Metropolitan ABC would be prohibitively expensive, even though C Metropolitan ABC owned 80% of ESPN. Michael Eisner's first choice after shifting his focus from NBC was CBS. Sid Bass nodded. Do you have a target for Disney's new president? Michael Ovitz. I'm trying to convince him to join Disney, but it'll take time, Michael Eisner replied. Sid Bass frowned. Will he be willing to give up his career as an agent? CAA was already the most successful agency in Hollywood. Would Michael Ovitz be willing to part with it? He's always had his eye on joining a film group. CAA's future development can't compare to what we have at Disney. He's always dreamed of becoming Hollywood's next Lew Wasserman, leaping from agent to the helm of an entertainment conglomerate. Michael Eisner and Michael Ovitz had been friends for many years and were aware of each other's ambitions. He truly hoped Michael Ovitz would join Disney to assist him, but he was also worried that Michael Ovitz would threaten his position within the company. He felt conflicted. Besides, Michael Ovitz is currently helping Panasonic with the disposal of MCA's assets, so he's quite busy and frequently traveling back and forth to Japan. Perhaps, once Panasonic officially sells MCA, Michael Ovitz's future will be decided. Sid Bass nodded, a smile on his face. If Michael Ovitz could join Disney, that would be a great opportunity. Michael Ovitz's connections in Hollywood were a formidable resource, potentially boosting Disney's film, music, and cable TV businesses. By the way, Suzuki is planning to acquire MCA. What are your thoughts on this? Sid Bass suddenly inquired. Michael Eisner spread his hands. There's no doubting the ability and vision of Hollywood's golden boy, Aaron Anderson. Suzuki is already a major concern for the Big Six studios. If they acquire MCA Universal, Suzuki will completely dominate Hollywood. Suzuki would then possess a comprehensive global distribution system, a vast film and television library, as well as a record business, publishing, a consumer product market for movie theme parks, and more. Aaron originally planned to develop the cable TV business first, as evidenced by his acquisition of AMC Cable Network. He's also partnering with the BBC to expand into the international television market. Now, he's seen the opportunity to acquire MCA Universal, but he'll definitely continue to focus on the television network business in the future. Sid Bass heard something else. To suppress Suzuki, they had to quickly acquire their own television distribution network and expand their film and television supply chain. After all, when it came to content production, Suzuki was the undisputed king. Oh, Sid Bass said helplessly. If Dwan was willing to join Disney, Aaron Anderson would be the next successor of Disney. Unfortunately, It couldn't happen. Chapter 309 is good enough to be released. Salomon Brothers Investment Bank has pulled out. In Aaron's Upper East Side villa, Dawn CFO, Jessica Parker, called. Aaron got up from his bed and moved to the sofa in the living room. Are they pessimistic about Dawn's future? No, there's a major problem within Salomon Brothers. Several key executives, including partners led by Vice President John Meriwether, have left the company and founded Long-Term Capital Management, a hedge fund focused on arbitrage trading. They've also recruited finance professors from Harvard, Stanford, and other universities. Long-Term Capital Management, founded by this group of top financial geniuses, just raised $1.25 billion in a short period of time. John Meriwether was a key partner of Salomon Brothers and the father of arbitrage on Wall Street. The founding of Long-Term Capital Management not only cost Salomon Brothers a key partner, but also a large number of clients. Many investors have already begun redeeming their investments in Salomon Brothers. Aaron's expression remained unchanged. It's not a big deal. I've met with quite a few investment company heads recently, and they're all willing to provide funding for Dawn, Carlyle Capital, Vanguard, Fidelity Investments, and so on. After hanging up, Aaron shook his head. Hedge funds have become incredibly popular since Quantum Fund's successful attack on the British pound 2 years ago. The number of aggressive hedge funds has been increasing over the past 2 years, and Omega Advisors, Aaron's previous investment, is also a hedge fund. Long-Term Capital Management, it seems, truly has a collection of top talent. Aaron also lamented for Salomon Brothers. John Meriwether's importance to Salomon Brothers was self-evident. A moment later, Christiana Yeri emerged from the bedroom, her long hair cascading over her shoulders and dressed in a white men's shirt. Her slender, white legs, her voluptuous figure, were revealed, inviting even more whimsy. "Aaron, you're awake so early." Christiana Yeri took a sip of milk from the refrigerator. "Yeah, you woke up early." Christiana Yeri approached Aaron. "Are you hungry? What do you want to eat?" Aaron smiled. "I want to eat you." He picked her up and, amid her exclamations, returned to the bedroom. Soon, a burst of passionate, yet subdued, music filled the air from the bedroom. On Halloween night, the streets of Greenwich Village on Manhattan's West Side were packed with men and women, young and old, tall and short, fat and thin, black and white. And the streets were filled with a parade of men, women, and children, wearing bizarre masks, strange costumes, and even outlandish makeup. Drums and trumpets blared, skulls held high, and people dressed as witches, Satan, and other demons marched in a mighty procession. How was it? How did it feel? On 6th Avenue, Aaron and Sophie Marceau admired the parade. Sophie Marceau took the man's arm and kissed him. "There are so many people, it's so lively." Aaron smiled, but inwardly, he thought it was boring and uninteresting. He thought Americans really lacked creativity. After the parade passed, Aaron took Sophie Marceau's hand and went to a bar on the intersecting South Houston Street, where a Halloween celebration was taking place. Aaron Anderson held Sophie Marceau's arm on the sofa. The box office for The Dark Knight seems to be doing pretty well, $120 million in North America. The Dark Knight's North American box office was millions higher than The Mask's, but its overseas market couldn't compare. The Dark Knight's global box office totaled approximately $210 million, while The Mask's global box office was $350 million. Sophie Marceau didn't think it was a big deal. "It's mainly because Harrison Ford is so popular." By the way, have you been following Leon, the Professional, the collaboration between Gaumont and Columbia Pictures? Aaron nodded. "Of course I have. It's director Luc Besson's first Hollywood film. It premiered in France to great acclaim. It's coming out in the US soon." "Right, yeah, but unfortunately, some cuts were made." Sophie Marceau shrugged. "The scenes dealing with Lolita's emotions were removed." Aaron patted the person in his arms. "If they hadn't been cut, it wouldn't have gotten an R rating. Hollywood is notoriously conservative. Some of the plot points in Luc Besson's Leon, the Professional, will definitely be criticized by the American media. It was a good thing that Leon, the Professional, was even released in the US. After all, the complex relationship between an older man and a young girl touches on taboos." With that, Aaron got up and went to the bathroom. After washing his face, Aaron left the bathroom only to run into Frank Darabont, the director of The Shawshank Redemption. "Hey, Frank, you've made a truly brilliant film. I absolutely love The Shawshank Redemption." Aaron immediately pulled Frank Darabont aside and started talking about the film. "Ah, Mr. Anderson, Frank Darabont was surprised, considering the film was the renowned Aaron Anderson. "Thank you," Frank Darabont smiled wryly. The Shawshank Redemption only grossed $16 million at the box office, but fortunately, it received positive reviews. He hoped for a second run during the awards season to see if there would be any surprises. Just call me Aaron. Although The Shawshank Redemption didn't perform well, it's definitely a good film in the eyes of critics. Humanity, freedom, perseverance, and redemption. The film's themes are rich and thought-provoking. Aaron truly loved the film. If Castle Rock hadn't invested, Dawn would have certainly done the same. The Shawshank Redemption was doomed to lose money, but like the Chinese film A Chinese Odyssey, it would become a huge hit once DVDs were released. By then, The Shawshank Redemption will undoubtedly earn a fortune from television broadcasts and DVDs. Frank Darabont smiled. "I'm truly delighted to hear such praise, especially from a Hollywood golden boy." As a new director, The Shawshank Redemption faced setbacks from its inception, including difficulty finding actors. After filming began, Darabont meticulously spent his $25 million budget, unable to sleep at night if he couldn't complete his shots for the day. From the official planning stages of The Shawshank Redemption, through filming and promotion, Darabont was under constant pressure. As expected, The Shawshank Redemption flopped in the market. Chapter 310 White House Chief of Staff. It seems you're quite optimistic about this director. After leaving the bar, Sophie Marceau took Aaron's arm and talked about Frank Darabont, another rising director who had caught Aaron's eye. Aaron smiled and shook the woman's hand. "Sometime, watch The Shawshank Redemption. You'll find it's a truly remarkable film." Frank Darabont would later direct other successful Stephen King adaptations. He also created the hit American TV series The Walking Dead. Sophie Marceau nodded and kissed Aaron. "Your taste is always right." Soon, the two of them arrived at Aaron's apartment near the Highline Park on the Hudson River. Aaron Anderson said, lying on Sophie Marceau's bed in the bedroom, feeling the woman's voluptuous, soft body. Sophie Marceau hugged Aaron, who was lying on her, tightly, with passion, and panted, "I received a script. It's a project of Italian tour guide Michelangelo Antonioni. It's adapted from his own early novel collection Bowling on the Tiber, an art film with several stories connected together." "Well," Aaron looked up, "do you want to go back to Europe to make a movie?" Sophie Marceau scratched her fingers on Aaron's back. "Well, it's an art erotic film. My agent doesn't recommend me to go back, saying that my career in Hollywood is on the rise. Shooting this kind of work will affect my image in Hollywood, and I will be regarded as a porn star." Before coming to Hollywood, Sophie Marceau had some large-scale works in France. After listening to Aaron's advice, she changed her image and moved closer to Hollywood, with the release of the movies 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Fang Fang and The Pursuit in the past 2 years. Sophie Marceau has become a representative figure of European actresses in Hollywood. The script Days in the Clouds, directed by Michelangelo Antonioni, that she recently received has indeed made Sophie Marceau very conflicted. Aaron turned over and let out a breath. "The agent is right. You definitely have no shortage of scripts now. There's no need for this. Besides, the epic war blockbuster Braveheart that you and Mel Gibson are working on will be released next year. By then, your fame and reputation will definitely reach a new level." Mel Gibson is now a well-deserved Hollywood superstar, with the same status as Kevin Costner and others. This year's Western action comedy The Gambler, co-starred by Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster, with a North American box office of $100 million and an overseas market of $80 million, a total of $180 million worldwide. "You think so too?" Sophie Marceau leaned into Aaron's arms, the softness of her breasts pressed against the man's chest. "Are my works in recent years too commercial?" "Well, 4 Weddings and a Funeral has a very good reputation too." "Okay then, since even Aaron Anderson said so." Sophie Marceau gave up the idea of returning to Europe to make a movie. Then, Aaron smiled and caressed the girl's chest. "Actually, I can't bear to do that either. You are my woman. It's too cheap for you to shoot those erotic films that show off your body. It's just a combination of several stories. You can't even be considered the heroine, right?" Sophie Marceau glared at Aaron, feeling a little amused. "Movies are just art. You are a Hollywood tycoon. How could you have such an idea? Porn stars have a bad reputation. Just look at Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct, Voyeur and other erotic films." The recently released The Expert is a collaboration with Sylvester Stallone, and the erotic scenes in it have caused both of them to be criticized. Actresses, if they play too many erotic films, will stereotype themselves as genre film actors, and it is difficult to change. Sharon Stone now gives people the first impression of being a porn star, and the scripts that find her are basically for her to show her body. Sophie Marceau smiled. Okay, you're just greedy, but you do have a point. The scripts Hollywood gave us before were just scraps. It's nothing like now, where we can get mainstream Hollywood roles. Lying on top of Aaron, Sophie Marceau sensed the change in him and slid into bed. Darling, Aaron hummed, reaching out to stroke Sophie Marceau's long chestnut hair. After Halloween, Aaron Anderson traveled to Washington, D.C., to visit President Clinton at the White House. He then met with Stephen Norris, head of Carlyle Capital. The Washington-based Carlyle Group possesses immense political resources, encompassing a large network of American executives and prominent figures. As a global private equity firm, Carlyle's funds currently manage over $30 billion in capital. Aaron Anderson met Stephen Norris through an introduction by current White House Chief of Staff Leon Panetta. The Carlyle Group, led by Stephen Norris, was also very interested in Sugan, and the two parties hit it off immediately. In a suite at the JW Marriott Hotel in Washington, Aaron and Leon Panetta sat across from each other. I've considered Sugan's acquisition of MCA very carefully. Now is the perfect time for Sugan to expand, Leon Panetta nodded. Didn't you mention earlier that you had an interest in Turner Broadcasting? Leon Panetta had just been appointed White House Chief of Staff by Clinton this year, replacing Mark McClarty. Also, because Leon Panetta was from Monterey, California, and a California politician, he and Aaron had developed a friendship. TBS's valuation is a bit high. Major shareholders like Ted Turner, Time Warner, and Liberty Media are all difficult to deal with. If Sugan really merges with TBS, I'm worried we'll lose control. Aaron's base is Hollywood, and film is Sugan's core. Acquiring MCA Universal is the best option right now. As for the broadcast network, they can take their time. President Clinton will definitely support Sugan's acquisition of MCA, Leon Panetta smiled. You know the significance of an American company buying back Universal from a Japanese company. Besides, Lew Wasserman is old and out of touch. Lew Wasserman had numerous connections in both politics and business, but with a change of ownership at MCA, his influence has been greatly diminished. Hollywood, as a window for America's cultural and ideological output abroad, is undoubtedly important. The White House, of course, wants to maintain this close relationship with Aaron Anderson. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 Different Camps. There's a Jewish guy named Rahm Emanuel on the president's advisory team. I don't like him very much. I don't think he's fit for the White House. Aaron stared at Leon Panetta. Rahm Emanuel had a brother named Ari Emanuel, Aaron's former agent who had left CAA. He had a business conflict with Aaron at the time, and later had his leg broken by someone hired by Jack Wells. Aaron didn't know if Ari Emanuel would be suspicious, but with the Emanuel family now so powerful in the White House, it certainly wouldn't work. Rahm Emanuel, Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Director of Communications, is just a nobody, right? How could he influence you? Leon Panetta was puzzled. Fine, just an advisor. I'll find a way to deal with him. Leon Panetta was the White House Chief of Staff, or Director of Staff. Dealing with a young advisor from Clinton's advisory team wouldn't be too difficult. Aaron nodded. By the way, you'd better cut ties with California State Assembly Speaker Willie Brown now. This black politician is involved in countless scandals, sex trafficking, bribery, judicial interference, and so on. The California gubernatorial election is coming up soon, and Pete Wilson's re-election is almost certain. The investigation into Willie Brown has already begun. As for Willie Brown's desire to run for mayor of San Francisco, it's a nice idea. Leon Panetta glanced at Aaron. Actually, there haven't been many connections. Aaron and Governor Pete Wilson have a lot of collaboration in California right now. Willie Brown is a Democratic Party opportunist who constantly exploits LGBTQ+ and people of color. Aaron, don't worry. You put a lot of effort into the previous presidential election, and you'll get a lot of rewards. Leon Panetta was somewhat frustrated. Clinton was too close to the Jewish community, and in Hollywood, Aaron's main competitor was Jewish capital. As a result, Washington, D.C., wasn't supporting Aaron Anderson enough, and he was getting closer and closer to Republican Governor Pete Wilson's faction. Aaron smiled. I'm not greedy, and I'm not afraid of competition. As long as they don't break the rules of the game, that's all I need. The two sides were on different sides, and while there was cooperation, there was also more competition. Leon Panetta sighed. I'll be paying attention to the negative news about you and Su Guang in some newspapers lately. The Washington Post really shouldn't be reporting on that. The Washington Post, a top mainstream newspaper in the United States, was helmed by newspaper queen Katharine Graham. America's top Jewish political family, with Jews now making inroads in Hollywood, the Bronfman family's acquisition of MCA Universal, and Aaron's involvement. Someone was getting restless. Aaron wasn't too worried. After all, ANCSA Capital was still the main player, and as a descendant of British immigrants, he had considerable support. Use whatever means necessary, that's their style, Aaron said with disdain. President Clinton has appointed so many Jewish officials. Does that mean he's going to have a Jewish cabinet? Leon Panetta spread his hands. It's not that serious yet, is it? Aaron waved his hand. What about his next term? Who can guarantee that? Jewish influence in Hollywood is already strong. Now that the new telecommunications financial bill has passed, allowing mergers between film companies and television stations, doesn't that give Jews another chance to control television? Disney wants to acquire NBC, but General Electric is only willing to sell a maximum of 49%. Now Disney is targeting CBS instead of ABC, and it's not just about price. Currently, CBS is the only Jewish-controlled wireless network group. The others, including Fox and CNN, are not Jewish. With Election Day approaching, Aaron returned to Los Angeles. As expected, Pete Wilson was re-elected governor of California. And George W. Bush was successfully elected governor of Texas, which was quite unexpected. Who is George W. Bush? Stupid, bigoted, and brutal, he lacked any real sparkle, even his basic speeches were a complete mess. Yet, his privileged background, the Bush family's wealth, his father a former president, and his vast political and business connections propelled him to the governorship of Texas. However, Aaron didn't stay in Los Angeles for more than a few days before heading back to Japan to meet with Panasonic's president, Yoichi Morishita. Panasonic headquarters in Osaka. Aaron, Panasonic does want to sell the MCA group, but we haven't completed the asset evaluation of MCA yet. Moreover, the board of directors is not unanimous in their opinion on the sale of MCA. Panasonic itself is an electrical appliance manufacturing company. MCA's business is helpful to Panasonic's hardware manufacturing. Aaron took a sip of coffee. I know the Seagram Group also wants to acquire MCA, but Edgar Bronfman Jr. still has to convince others. Plus, Seagram has to sell its DuPont stock first before it can have funds. Panasonic, are you sure you want to keep waiting? Aaron looked at Yoichi Morishita. This year, Universal only has one live-action adaptation of the TV series, The Flintstones, which did well at the box office. The rest of the works, basically none of them are impressive. The $175 million Waterworld is the biggest joke in Hollywood. MCA's record industry performance is average, and Universal has been losing money every year except last year. Does Panasonic want to follow Sony's example and continue to transfer funds from the headquarters to Universal? Yoichi Morishita clenched his hands tightly on his knees and said, Mr. Anderson, Panasonic will accept bids from various companies in January next year. Aaron nodded and said, I know Panasonic must feel bad about leaving Hollywood in disgrace. Perhaps, after Sugan merges with MCA, Panasonic can exchange for some shares of the new Sugan, and we will pay the rest in cash. Yoichi Morishita's eyes lit up and said, Panasonic really doesn't want to leave Hollywood completely. We are very interested in Mr. Anderson's Sugan Group. Aaron's expression remained unchanged. Sugan shares are not that easy to get. Sugan will make a formal offer in January next year. If Panasonic's board of directors is still wasting time here, I will withdraw from the acquisition of MCA. Aaron didn't have that much time to waste. Even if Panasonic sold MCA to Seagram, the other party didn't have the ability to develop it. It would be a loss-making company too, and Sugan would just acquire it a few years later. Now, Aaron could let Panasonic become one of Sugan's shareholders. Isn't that leaving a way out for the other party? Understood. I'll convince the board as soon as possible. While Morishita Yoichi wasn't familiar with the American entertainment industry, he knew the Hollywood Akabano Group was a hot commodity. Mr. Anderson, I'll have Panasonic Senior Vice President, Murayst Suzo, be in charge of connecting with Akebono. He's currently my assistant, he'll specifically handle the sale of MCA. Chapter 312 The Coming Changes. At the Osaka Intercontinental Hotel, Aaron had dinner with Jessica Parker and Tom Rothman of Suzuki. Panasonic wants to retain a stake in the Hollywood Film Group, probably for the upcoming video disc business, Aaron had already guessed. With the arrival of VCDs in China, the US and Japan would certainly not abandon this massive market. Just like how Philips and Sony jointly proposed the MMCD high-density multimedia disc standard, and Toshiba and Panasonic released the SD standard, two different DVD technology standards. Tom Rothman nodded. VCDs are performing very well in China. VCD players and accompanying VCD discs are much cheaper than VCRs, and tapes, DVDs, derived from VCD technology, offer even sharper picture quality and larger storage. Panasonic wasn't completely withdrawing, it was clear they wanted to maintain their influence at MCA. VCDs, DVDs, Aaron smiled. A new wave of revolution in Hollywood's home entertainment market is about to begin. Philips owned Polygram, Sony owned Columbia, and Toshiba was a shareholder in Time Warner. Panasonic's intentions were clear. Jessica Parker said, Michael Ovitz arranged a meeting between Edgar Bronfman Jr. and Yoichi Morishita some time ago. Judging from the current situation, it seems the two sides didn't reach any agreement. Aaron narrowed his eyes. HMPH, Seagram's just a liquor company, and they want to enter Hollywood. Let's see how much they can afford to spend. By the way, we've already acquired a 10% stake in AOL from Paul Allen. Jessica Parker suddenly reminded him, a thought coming to her mind. Aaron nodded. AOL's future holds endless possibilities. It's going to be a good investment. Later, Norika Fujiwara also came to Osaka to spend 3 days with Aaron. Afterward, Aaron went to Hong Kong. Since Aaron had always been interested in VCDs, he and Wang Xiuxin went from Hong Kong to BJ. Since private business jet services are currently scarce in China, it would be difficult for Aaron's Gulfstream IV to enter mainland China. For convenience, they took an airline flight directly to Beijing Capital International Airport. It was already chilly in early winter in BJ. Aaron and Wang Xiuxin were staying at the newly opened BJ Hilton Hotel. Is that a poster for The Fugitive? On the way from the airport to the hotel, Aaron spotted a large poster of Harrison Ford hanging outside the BJ movie theater. There was even a line outside. Yes, The Fugitive is the first imported, split-revenue blockbuster. It's opening in 6 cities, including BJ and Shanghai, Wang Xiuxin explained. The Fugitive is an action film released by Warner Brothers last summer, starring Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. It grossed $180 million in North America and $360 million worldwide. Aaron stared. Only 6 cities. It seemed there was a lot of squabbling over the importation of split-revenue blockbusters. It's been very successful. The Fugitive's popularity is unmatched by any domestic film, Wang Xiuxin said, shaking her head. The official announcement has come down. From now on, 10 profit-sharing blockbusters will be imported every year. Why? Are there also those from Shu Wang? Aaron shook his head. I'm not sure about the specifics, but I think there should be. Speed and The Mask of Zorro, both excellent action blockbusters, were released by Shu Wang last year. It's not politically charged, but it all depends on the arrangements here. After all, Hong Kong films are now considered imported blockbusters for us here, and there are only 10 profit-sharing films, which is not a large number. Furthermore, the profit sharing is Chinese style, and the 13% producer share is a significant difference from the internationally accepted 35%. Furthermore, the current mainland Chinese film market is pitifully small, and Hollywood still doesn't seem to be interested. This year, Huanayan produced tens of thousands of VCD players, but due to the limited supply of films, Huanayan has focused on market development, acquiring numerous audio and video stores to distribute VCD songs and movies. Are there any pirated VCDs now? Aaron leaned against the headboard, his arms around Wang Xiuxin, in the Hilton Hotel bedroom. Yes, there are already quite a few pirated VCDs in coastal cities. It's just that there aren't many sources right now, and VCD player sales are average, Wang Xiuxin said, turning her head and kissing the man on the face a few times. Aaron smiled. Soon. VCDs are much cheaper than videotapes, and they'll be popular soon. By then, whether it's Western films or Hong Kong blockbusters, the market will be flooded with them. Wang Xiuxin was wearing a sexy silk nightgown, looking incredibly seductive. Aaron reached into the girl's nightgown, feeling the softness. In the second half of this year, you shot another movie in Hong Kong, right? Well, yes. Wang Xiuxin's breathing became heavier, stroking Aaron's body. By the way, I heard that the blood and tears of Chinese workers was overspent. Oh, small problem, the budget has been increased, the film has been completed, the total investment is $18 million. $18 million. Wang Xiuxin was surprised. That's 140 million Hong Kong dollars. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Jack Chang's action movie Rumble in the Bronx this year also helped Xu Guang earn tens of millions of dollars in profits. Well, Aaron said, and kissed Wang Xiuxin's lips with fiery passion. As the pajamas fell off, Aaron pressed his whole body on the girl. Next year, Xu Guang will shoot a Hollywood action comedy Rush Hour for Jack Chang. I will arrange for you to play a role then. Wang Xiuxin hugged Aaron Anderson tightly. Well, Rush Hour will start shooting next year. Yes, it will be shot next year and released the year after next. It is a mainstream Hollywood commercial film starring serious Chinese actors. Wang Xiuxin bit her lip. Jack Chang shot a racing-themed action film Pili Torch in Japan and Southeast Asia this year, you know, and he went to the United States to shoot the film, spending 200 million Hong Kong dollars. Hollywood's New Line company bought the North American distribution rights. Aaron smiled. Xu Guang has several Hong Kong kung fu films to be released. They are kung fu films starring Jack Chang and Jet Li. Xu Guang, there is no shortage of Chinese language films to be released. Now that Hong Kong films have begun to reduce production, you can slowly develop towards Hollywood. With me here, it's not a problem. Well, Wang Xiuxin rolled over and sat on Aaron, her long hair flying. If the film market in Hong Kong shrinks, I'll go to Hollywood to join you. Aaron caressed the girl's delicate body. You can come over anytime. If you want to film, you can film. If you don't want to film, you can rest. Chapter 313. I was impressed by him. Since last year, China has accelerated its reform of financial monetization and the opening of its capital markets. The resulting overissuance of currency and rapid growth in fixed asset investment have led to an overheated economy and financial disorder. The result has been rising inflation, soaring prices, and a heightened risk of an economic bubble. This has not only destabilized financial markets but has also severely undermined investor confidence. Aaron sat on the sofa in the living room of his Hilton hotel suite, flipping through a newspaper. China's CPI, Consumer Price Index, has exceeded 20% this year. This is serious hyperinflation. Wang Xiuxin, standing nearby, said helplessly, prices have been rising since last year. It's really scary. Aaron stood up and walked to the window, overlooking Beijing. His thoughts raced. Since reform and opening up, China's economic development has been quite good. Currently, there's a significant influx of foreign investment. After all, with a population of 1.2 billion, China is a massive market. If it continues to grow, it will be a significant undertaking. By the way, aren't two Chinese language films, To Live and Sunny Days, which performed well at the Cannes and Venice film festivals respectively this year, showing here? Aaron suddenly inquired. To Live won the Cannes Jury Prize in Best Actor. Sunny Days, director Zhang Wen's debut feature, also won Best Actor. Wang Xiuxin shook her head. Here, many films can't be released publicly. They need approval from the State Administration of Press, Publication, Radio, Film, and Television. This year, not only has many excellent Hollywood films been released, but also many Chinese language films. Aaron smiled and shook his head. I know director Zhang Yimou's works, but they seem to be banned here. There's no other way. To win awards abroad, they can only make films like these, catering to the West's perverse aesthetic of ugliness. Nowadays, people abroad primarily understand China through movies and news. As a result, Zhang Yimou's films have made him very disliked by Chinese and overseas Chinese. Director Ang Lee's Drink Man Woman, released this year, is pretty good too, Wang Xiuxin suddenly thought. It seems director Lee is currently filming Sense and Sensibility, a film with Xu Guang Investments. Since Ang Lee is also from Taipei, Wang Xiuxin would be more familiar with it and pay closer attention. Aaron nodded. Yes, the new film adaptation of Jane Austen's novel of the same name will be released next year. Come on, let's go to your video store in BJ's. Aaron's main purpose in BJ's was to explore the Chinese VCD market. Video parlors are currently the main entertainment venue in China. After all, China is still very poor, and the average family certainly can't afford VCRs and videotapes. It's believed that VCDs will soon replace videotapes. The Fugitive, the first major imported film to be released in mainland China under a revenue-sharing system, grossed 11 million RMB during its week-long run in 6 cities. Subsequently, films like the Hong Kong film Rumble in the Bronx, The Hollywood True Lies, and Speed were among the 10 revenue-sharing blockbusters being imported to mainland China next year and received release approval. In late November, Wang Xiuxin was returning to Taipei to attend the Golden Horse Awards, and Aaron also returned to the United States. At the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles, Aaron and director Roland Emmerich were discussing the sci-fi blockbuster Independence Day, directed by Roland Emmerich, produced by Carlock, and distributed by MGM. Stargate was released late last month and grossed $50 million in 3 weeks. Although Stargate received mixed reviews from the media, it was generally a thoroughly entertaining sci-fi adventure and a commercial success. The theme of Independence Day is that Americans face an alien invasion, fighting to defend human rights and dignity, and propelling humanity towards victory. The movie has a lot of special effects and massive explosions, which will be incredibly stimulating. Roland Emmerich's pursuit of spectacular special effects is undeniable. Using computer effects wouldn't be as thrilling, so I plan to create miniature models of cities like Washington, D.C., New York, and Los Angeles. Then, we'll detonate fireballs beneath these miniature models and film them with a high-speed camera. Aaron smiled. If computer effects don't satisfy you, miniature models are fine too. Independence Day will be released on Independence Day next year, Roland Emmerich nodded. Meanwhile, Legends of the Fall, based on Jim Harrison's novel of the same name and directed by Edward Zwick, starring Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, and Kate Beckinsale, held its premiere at the Hollywood Chinese Theater. However, Legends of the Fall will officially open next month. After the Los Angeles premiere, the crew will also travel to London and New York for premieres. After Aaron finished chatting with Roland Emmerich at the Roosevelt Hotel, he joined the cast of Legends of the Fallen at the Montrose Hotel in West Hollywood. Edward, I heard you've taken on a film about the Gulf War. Aaron had previously collaborated with Edward Zwick on the hit romance Ghost and now on Legends of the Fallen. Their relationship is quite close. Edward Zwick smiled. Well, the project of 20th Century Fox is indeed a suspense drama about the theme of the Gulf War. You know, I have shot too many romance films, and I also want to try other types. As for the heroine, I have already talked to Nicole Kidman, and she is also interested in this role. Edward Zwick's new project is called In the Line of Courage, which is the first Hollywood movie with the Gulf War as the theme. It tells the story of a woman who died in the war, and afterwards the male protagonist returned to his country to investigate the truth of the incident and won due honor for the sacrificed female officer. Aaron nodded, and then he met other members of the crew, Brad Pitt, and his girlfriend Gwyneth Paltrow. The performance in Seven is quite extraordinary. Aaron clinked his glasses with it too. Brad Pitt's Interview with a Vampire, released this year, had both good reviews and box office success. The upcoming Legends of the Fallen also received rave reviews during previews, not to mention this year's Seven. Director David Fincher's abilities are even more astonishing. I'm truly captivated by him. Aaron smiled and patted the other man's shoulder. We'll likely have opportunities to work together again in the future. Chapter 314 Head-on Competition. In Hollywood Park, in a villa near Lake Hollywood, Aaron sat on the sofa with the voluptuous and beautiful Kate Beckinsale in his arms. How was it? Your first Hollywood premiere, how was it? Legends of the Fallen was Kate Beckinsale's first Hollywood film, which was quite impressive for a newcomer. Furthermore, this year, Kate Beckinsale also starred in Twilight Pictures' horror film Scream. Thank you. Otherwise, how would I have had this opportunity? Kate Beckinsale stood up, grabbed a bottle of wine from the counter, and poured 2 glasses. Aaron walked over, took the glasses, and clinked them. Next, the promotion for Legends of the Fallen will probably take some time. Next month, the movie officially opens. Kate Beckinsale nodded. She wasn't in a rush right now. After Legends of the Fallen and Scream were released, she should have a certain level of fame. Aaron, you must be very busy recently. The news that Sugan is going to acquire MCA Universal is all over the place. It's okay. I just came back from Japan. Aaron just smiled. I am confident. As he said that, Aaron hugged the girl from behind and kissed her on the cheek. How about you? Have you been in London recently? Kate Beckinsale closed her eyes and leaned in the man's arms. "Yeah, you didn't go to London to find me." "Well," Aaron immediately kissed the girl's lips and raised his hand to caress the other's softness. Kate Beckinsale responded enthusiastically, then turned around and hugged the man's neck, kissing and tongue intertwined. The next morning, Aaron woke up in the bedroom bed with Kate Beckinsale in his arms. "Let's live here from now on, okay?" Kate Beckinsale blinked. "I think the apartment on Fountain Boulevard in West Hollywood is good." "This place is not so good." Aaron smiled and stroked the girl's delicate body. "What's wrong with it? I have a lot of houses, and the environment here is good, private and quiet. I'm still a newcomer." Kate Beckinsale rubbed against Aaron. "Besides, you're often not here. It's boring for me to live here alone. When I become famous in the future and need to avoid reporters, then I can live in a place like this." Aaron was helpless. "It's up to you. Is there still a lack of opportunities for my woman?" Kate Beckinsale nodded, a smile on her face. "Of course there will be, but you have so many women. Next I'm going to promote the movie Legends of the Phoenix. Will you go to the UK?" Aaron shook his head. "Probably not. I'll find you when you get back to the States." "Okay." With the upcoming release of Dawn Pictures' final film, Legends of the Phoenix, Dawn had no productions in 1994. Garage, released on Halloween by Twilight Pictures, grossed $12 million in North America, starring Monica Bellucci in a captivatingly sexy performance. Los Angeles, Inglewood, Great Western Forum, the Houston Rockets visit the Los Angeles Lakers. Aaron, along with Jennifer Connelly, watched the game. As the defending champions, the Houston Rockets' dominance this year wasn't as strong as last year's. In a private room, Aaron, enjoying the game, received a call. Willie Brown is dead, shot dead by a group of black robbers in Oakland. This year, Willie Brown, the recently retired Speaker of the California State Assembly, was shot 3 times by a black robber outside an Oakland bar. "Aaron, what's wrong?" Jennifer Connelly, standing nearby, noticed Aaron had taken a call and her face darkened. Aaron shook his head, kissed the woman on the cheek, and patted her. "Nothing." At that moment, Aaron was in shock. He had just recently informed Leon Panetta of Pete Wilson's investigation into Willie Brown, and just a few days later, this guy was dead? The Clintons were truly ruthless. The next day, at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, Ventura County, California, Aaron Anderson had come specifically to attend an event hosted by Leon Panetta. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, opened in 1991, is one of 13 presidential libraries managed by the National Archives and Records Administration, NARA. And this Ronald Reagan Presidential Library is the largest of the 13. In a small conference room in the library, Aaron sat on the sofa and stared at Leon Panetta. "Do you have anything to say?" Leon Panetta shook his head. "Willie Brown knows a lot of things, and he has too many problems. I don't care about these." Aaron picked up the wine glass and took a sip. "Don't affect me. Sugan will prepare to go public after acquiring MCA. Sugan can now influence the landscape of Hollywood, and I have many competitors." Leon Panetta smiled. "In the future, Sugan will have no problems with public relations in Washington. Moreover, even if Sugan fails to acquire MCA this time, we will let Sugan join MPAA as an official member. Replace MGM and become one of the 7 major film companies in Hollywood." Aaron looked at Leon Panetta. Before serving as White House Chief of Staff, this guy was a California Democratic congressman. "You must be clear about the current situation in Hollywood. Time Warner, Disney, and Paramount are all controlled by Jewish capital. Columbia, Triple, and Universal are owned by the Japanese. 20th Century Fox belongs to Australian-American Rupert Murdoch," Aaron said as he stood up. "My identity, lineage, and beliefs have destined me to not be too close to the Jews. You are constantly increasing the political status of the Jews, which is not good." Leon Panetta spread his hands. "President Clinton has received strong support from Jewish capital. Increasing the political status of the Jews is also to dispel the concerns of Jewish capital. In today's America, the main focus of Jewish capital is still in finance and entertainment. With you in Hollywood, this situation should change. There is no negative news about you and on in the Washington Post anymore. The Bronfman family currently has no support in Washington. This time, you can compete with them head-on for MCA. Universal, news networks like ABC, NBC, and CNN will also cheer for you. The American Golden Boy will take back Universal Pictures from the Japanese." Aaron nodded. "Very good." Chapter 315, Solving the Trouble. Dallas, Texas. George W. Bush defeated Democratic Governor Ann Richards, winning 54% to 45% of the vote and becoming the 46th governor of Texas. Bush pledged reforms to the juvenile justice system, the welfare system, and Texas tort law. Despite Ann Richards' strong personal reputation, Bush capitalized on the wave of conservatism and anti-incumbency sentiment sweeping Texas, securing his victory. Aaron and Jennifer Connelly traveled all the way from California to George W. Bush's Dallas residence to attend his victory party. Conservatism reigns in Texas, and the oil family. Jeb Bush also ran for governor of Florida this year, but lost. Actually, everyone was more optimistic about Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush lost, but it was the underdog George W. Bush who was elected governor of Texas. Jack Wells casually clinked his glasses with Aaron as he spoke. Aaron smiled. The Bush family has ample resources. Jeb Bush becoming governor of Florida will definitely happen. By the way, there's some trouble at the Houston Post. Karen McKee's in trouble. Karen McKee is the head of the Houston Post Group. Jack Wells frowned. What kind of trouble? The Houston Post is the only major regional newspaper controlled by Don, and this time, it played a significant role in supporting George W. Bush. The Houston Chronicle has exposed a lot of negative information about us, saying the Houston Post is smearing facts, making false reports, and so on. It seems someone is planning to sue the Houston Post, and that Judge Greg Abbott of the Houston District Court has close ties to the Hearst Corporation. Ever since Sue Guang acquired the Houston Post, competition with Hearst's Houston Chronicle has been fierce. With the resources of Sue Guang and Aaron, the Houston Post's advantages in the entertainment and sports sectors have quickly become apparent, with continued circulation growth. Coupled with their support for George W. Bush's election as governor, Hearst is clearly feeling the pressure. Jack Wells took a sip of his wine. I'll accompany Karen McKee to talk to the relevant personnel. If you can't solve the problem, solve the person. The result is the same anyway. Aaron nodded and leaned close to Jack Wells's ear. There's a former reporter from the Washington Post who probably knows a lot. Jack Wells smiled. Don't worry, he'll keep quiet. A moment later, George Bush Jr., his face radiant with rosy glow, approached. Aaron, my friend, I'm so glad to see you. After leaving Dallas, Aaron Anderson and Jennifer Connelly returned to his Brenham Ranch. Aaron reclined on the sofa, a glass of whiskey in hand. The flames blazing in the fireplace before them illuminated his features. His own Houston Post was locked in fierce competition with the Hearst-owned Houston Chronicle, but now, with the backing of Texas oil capital represented by the Bush family, Aaron was no longer intimidated by the established newspaper families. George Bush Jr. was about to implement a massive tax cut plan in Texas, and Aaron would increase his investment and business in the state. What are you thinking about, darling? A fragrant breeze blew in, and the voluptuous Jennifer Connelly, wrapped in pajamas, approached, leaning down and kissing the man on the cheek. Aaron put down his glass, pulled the woman into his arms, and smiled. I'm thinking, even someone like George W. Bush could become governor of the United States. I want to become president of the United States someday. It doesn't seem that difficult. Jennifer Connelly laughed along. Someone from Hollywood has already become president. You want to be the next one, Ronald Reagan, a Hollywood actor at that. Oh, the President of the United States. Aaron shook his head. Everyone knew that the President of the United States was merely a spokesperson. According to the rules and game of power in the United States, the decision-makers were the consortium behind the scenes. Aaron kissed the woman and said, let's go back to Houston tomorrow to watch the Rockets game. It's Thanksgiving, so we can celebrate. Jennifer Connelly hugged the man. Well, with the Federal Reserve raising interest rates this year, will it be more difficult for Sugan to acquire MCA? Not bad. The Fed is probably worried about the overheating economy and is raising rates to curb inflation, Aaron said, feeling the woman's 34D breasts. The appreciation of the US dollar has led to a repatriation of capital, with significant amounts recently seen from Mexico and other Latin American regions. Mexico, in particular, is experiencing an election year, with the ruling party facing a fierce challenge from the opposition, a presidential candidate assassinated, and political instability exacerbating capital flight. Jennifer Connelly kissed Aaron on the lips, her sensual pajamas slipping off. On Thanksgiving Eve 1994, a car pulled up to the gate of a suburban Houston estate. Former Houston Post reporter Rudolph Harrison nervously exited the car. A nearby lawyer smiled and said, relax, it's just an agreement. Soon, after various checks, Rudolph Harrison appeared before Jack Wells. Jack Wells sat on the sofa and looked up. "Did you bring the things?" Rudolph Harrison nodded. "I have brought them all." Jack Wells took it, looked at the lawyer next to him, and when he saw the other party nodded, he turned to Rudolph Harrison. $100,000, sign this confidentiality agreement. You should understand what this means. Don't worry, no one will know. Rudolph Harrison knew that if he violated this confidentiality agreement, the consequences would be unbearable. Jack Wells nodded. "Did someone from Hearst ask you to do this?" Rudolph Harrison lowered his head and said nothing, but everyone understood this expression. Jack Wells smiled and said, "This kind of thing will only cause certain losses to the Houston Post. Can it force the Houston Post to cease publication? And you, how much salary do you get a month? Is it necessary to work so hard? Can you participate in the competition between the Houston Chronicle and the Houston Post?" Rudolph Harrison's body shook a few times and then collapsed to the ground. The security personnel of Angel Company helped him up, signed a confidentiality agreement with a witness of a lawyer, and took the money. Finally, Rudolph Harrison was taken away from the manor. Chapter 316, Beware of Poaching. In the study at a villa in the River Oaks neighborhood of Houston, Aaron and Jack Wells were talking on the phone. It's all done. However, the main reason for this is that Hearst wants to monopolize the newspaper industry in the Houston area. Their idea of wanting the Houston Chronicle to dominate the market has not changed. Aaron knocked on the table. Obviously, as the circulation of the Houston Post increases, advertising costs also increase. The biggest impact must be on the Houston Chronicle. Soon, Jack Wells' voice came on the phone again. "Aaron, Miss Karen McKee met with a person in charge of the Houston Chronicle and agreed to compete fairly in the future. We just let it go." Aaron smiled. "Don't underestimate the Hearst Group. Their newspapers, magazines and TV stations are not bad either. At present, we have more advantages than them in Texas. The Houston Post can completely squeeze the space of the Houston Chronicle. Take your time. When there's a chance, we can directly acquire the Houston Chronicle." Many of Hearst's newspapers are now losing money. After hanging up the phone, Aaron sat in his chair, looking through Hakeem Olajuwon's contract. The 4-year, $21.31 million contract he signed last year expired in the summer of 1997. Hakeem Olajuwon was already 31 years old that year, and by 1997, he'd be 36. "By then, I'll have to find a way to get O'Neal to Houston," Aaron muttered to himself. With Hollywood entering awards season, Los Angeles also saw its peak activity. In early December, Aaron returned to Los Angeles. DreamWorks SKG, a buzzing company, had announced that Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen had become an investor. In the dubbing studios at One Studios in Burbank, voice actors led by Tom Hanks and others were dubbing for the film. As director John Lasseter's first animated feature, it was also Pixar Studios' first 3D computer animated feature. Toy Story was a project not only for Pixar but also for Dawn Studios. Jeffrey Katzenberg has partnered with PDI Pacific Digital Imaging to produce DreamWorks' first animated feature. Not only that, Jeffrey Katzenberg has also been aggressively poaching talent from Disney's animation department, leveraging high salaries and his charisma to win over many. John Lasseter, standing beside Aaron, explained the animation industry landscape. Disney's animated feature The Lion King released this year was incredibly popular. That's all thanks to Jeffrey Katzenberg, Aaron smiled. DreamWorks SKG, founded by Jeffrey Katzenberg, now had an undisguised hostility towards Disney. Toy Story's release date is April of next year. "Hopefully, there won't be any issues," John Lasseter nodded. "Don't worry, it will definitely hit theaters on time," Aaron thought for a moment and warned, "Our animators at Pixar have to be wary of DreamWorks poaching." Jeffrey Katzenberg isn't Michael Eisner. He's also optimistic about 3D computer animation. Even if DreamWorks doesn't produce 3D computer animation in the next few years, it will catch his eye after Toy Story comes out. It was Jeffrey Katzenberg who pushed for Disney Animation to sign an animation production deal with Pixar. John Lasseter responded, "I understand. After Toy Story comes out, we'll start developing a second project as soon as possible." Aaron glanced at Tom Hanks in the recording studio. This year's Forrest Gump had practically secured him a Best Actor Oscar. Furthermore, he had also starred in Ron Howard's documentary Apollo 13 this year. Combined with last year's release of The Philadelphia Story, Tom Hanks's fame had skyrocketed. That evening, at the Sunset Marcus Hotel in West Hollywood, Aaron ran into Kevin Costner. Perhaps because of the Waterworld incident, he seemed a little down. "What's wrong?" Are there any problems with post-production on Waterworld? Aaron inquired. Kevin Costner shook his head and gave a wry smile. I'm not happy with Kevin Reynolds' cut. We had another argument. Kevin Reynolds was the director of Waterworld. Towards the end of filming, he and Kevin Costner had reached an irreconcilable disagreement. Reynolds withdrew from the filming, and Kevin Costner later directed it himself. After filming wrapped, Universal asked Kevin Reynolds to edit the film again, but Kevin Costner was also dissatisfied. Aaron was stunned for a moment, then smiled, stood up, and patted him on the shoulder. It'll be fine. Waterworld was almost doomed to fail. With a $175 million investment, plus the subsequent publicity and promotion costs, the total cost would definitely not be less than $200 million. Universal was bound to incur significant losses on this investment, but Dawn was now acquiring MCA Universal. Aaron then met Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, who collaborated again this year on the black and white biopic Ed Wood. This was their second collaboration after Ed Wood's Scissorhands, and while Ed Wood had some flaws in detail and character development, it possessed a unique charm. Overall, it was a highly artistic work, but a commercial failure. Even investor Columbia withdrew its investment, leaving Touchstone Pictures, a subsidiary of Disney, to take over. Just as Aaron was about to leave the hotel, he was stopped by Winona Ryder, whom he hadn't seen in a while. It's you, Winona. Aaron hugged her. Just now, I ran into Johnny Depp in there. Winona Ryder shrugged. I ran into him too. Shall we go for a drink? We haven't seen each other for a long time. Aaron smiled and nodded, and then the two of them came to an upscale bar on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. In a private room on the second floor of the bar, Aaron hugged the disheveled Winona Ryder. Are you promoting Little Women? Winona Ryder panted and kissed Aaron on the cheek. Yeah, it was released on Christmas Day, and the word of mouth is pretty good. Aaron nodded, looked at the rosy-faced Winona Ryder in his arms, leaned over and blew a breath in the girl's ear. Let's go back. I'll spend the weekend with you. Yeah, let's go to my place. Chapter 317 Feminism. At night, in West Hollywood, in Winona Ryder's villa. Aaron hugged Winona Ryder and stood by the window, admiring the night view of Los Angeles, with a blanket wrapped around them. Winona Ryder's exquisite short hair made her look even more beautiful and capable. She raised her head and kissed the man behind her. Christmas is approaching, and it's getting more lively. Aaron smiled, feeling the girl's seductive body. You started another literary and artistic romance film, The Dream of Redemption, this year, right? Yes, I filmed this one after the filming of Little Women was completed. Aaron caressed the girl's soft body. Since Dracula, The Following the Pain of Reality, The Age of Innocence and the upcoming Little Women are all literary and artistic films, next year's The Dream of Redemption is also a literary and artistic film. Isn't it too much? Literary and artistic films are good, but without the blessing of commercial films, the actor's fame and influence will not increase much, and the pay will also be difficult to increase. Although Winona Ryder is considered one of the best young female actors in Hollywood, her pay is far behind that of Julia Roberts, Nicole Kidman, Demi Moore, and Sharon Stone. Winona Ryder nodded. Indeed, they're all art films. You mean, I should get more involved in commercial films? The highest-grossing film Winona Ryder has starred in is Francis Ford Coppola's Brass Terror. Yes, I warned you a long time ago that you should focus more on commercial films, Aaron said, kissing the girl on the cheek. Look at young, up-and-coming actresses like Jennifer Connelly and Catherine Zeta-Jones. They're quite famous now. Winona Ryder's films are mostly low-budget art films, making it difficult for them to achieve commercial success. If Winona Ryder doesn't make a change, her future career advancement will be slow. All of this is thanks to you, Winona Ryder said, turning around and hugging the man. Every actress in Hollywood wants to be an Anderson girl. Everyone knows that starring in an Aaron Anderson film is a shortcut to fame. I get it. Next, I'll choose more commercial scripts. Well, actually, your version of Little Women is very good. Director Gillian Armstrong is even more subtle. As a female director, Gillian Armstrong had a clear goal when she created the film, to adapt the film into definitive feminist text, while also expressing the ambiguous and unclear female consciousness in the original novel. This year, Little Women starring Winona Ryder has won the favor and support of most film critics. The actors are well chosen, and each actor in the movie performs very well. Little Women is an elegant, unemotional and well-made film. Todd McCasey, a film critic for Variety magazine, believes that this version of Little Women surpasses any previous adaptation of the original novel. Aaron put his arm around Winona Ryder and sat down on the sofa nearby. The producer of Little Women is Amy Pascal, right? Yes, Amy Pascal is the executive vice president of production at Columbia Pictures. She really likes this novel by the famous American female writer Louisa May Alcott, so she pushed for it. Add to that another female producer, Denise Deneuve, female screenwriter Robin Swickard, and female director Gillian Armstrong. It can be said that the main creators of Little Women are all dominated by female members, Winona Ryder said with a smile on her face. You said, "This Little Woman is very meaningful, right?" I see, Aaron smiled. In fact, I am more optimistic about Amy Pascal. When she was Joe Roth's assistant at 20th Century Fox, I tried to invite her to join Dawn. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Now, Amy Pascal has become the vice president of production at Columbia Pictures, and Joe Roth has also joined Disney and become the chairman of Disney's live-action movies. Is that so? Then Ms. Amy Pascal should regret it. Sony lost $3.4 billion on Columbia TriStar, and everyone in Hollywood knows about it, Aaron nodded. Yes, she probably regrets it. Sony Entertainment is a mess right now. The TriStar label has been shelved, and Sony Columbia has undergone a series of leadership changes. Even Sony America's president, Mickey Schulhoff, is about to leave Sony. In its past, Sony Pictures Entertainment's turnaround was fueled by hit franchises like Spider-Man and Men in Black. But now, the comic book rights for Spider-Man and Men in Black are in the hands of Sue Guang. Will Aaron give Sony another chance? Of course not. Furthermore, Aaron sees Marvel as a sure thing. After several years of being publicly listed, Marvel is no longer just a comic book company. After numerous mergers and acquisitions, toys, playing cards, and trading cards have become the majority of its business. But with the comic book industry in a slump, Marvel's debt is steadily increasing. Marvel is on the verge of bankruptcy and liquidation. After all, Marvel's chairman, Ronald Perlman, is an American acquisition enthusiast who plays the financial game. How could he care about Marvel's development and future? It's Marvel's tradition to sell off its characters when they're short on cash, but Marvel's most popular franchises are Spider-Man, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. Currently, the adaptation rights to the X-Men series are still in Marvel Comics' hands, so they will undoubtedly be the first to be taken out. Winona Ryder then kissed Aaron on the lips. Well, among the female executives in Hollywood right now, the most powerful are Paramount chairman Sherry Lansing and Dawn Pictures president Ron Steele, Aaron nodded. In the future, the status of women in Hollywood will gradually rise. The rise of feminism is inevitable. Currently, male actors play too important a role in Hollywood. This can only be changed slowly. The rise of actresses like Julia Roberts, Nicole Kidman, and Demi Moore is a testament to this trend. As long as films with female leads can achieve high box office success, the importance of actresses will naturally increase. However, all this takes time. Feminism in Hollywood won't happen overnight. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318 Winona takes the initiative. West Hollywood. Early in the morning, Aaron Anderson, lying in bed, uttered a dream hum and let out a long sigh. A moment later, Winona Ryder emerged from the covers and slumped over the man's chest, breathing rapidly, her rosy face covered in sweat. Touching the woman's smooth, white body, Aaron's lips curled up. "Honey, you've been more proactive these past few days." "Well, don't you like that?" Winona Ryder said, pinching the man's chest. Aaron patted the woman. "If anything happens in the future, be sure to let me know. Don't keep it to yourself and get depressed." If memory serves, Winona Ryder had apparently shoplifted from a shopping mall and was subsequently prosecuted, bringing her acting career to a halt. This was a pity, as Winona Ryder, known as the Hollywood Elf, was a truly impressive actress. Got it, with the Golden Globe nominations announced, Shu Guang's Forrest Gump, Legends of the Fallen, and Pulp Fiction were all nominated for Best Picture, Drama. The highly anticipated Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction led the Golden Globes with 7 and 6 nominations, respectively. Meanwhile, The Shawshank Redemption, which Aaron had long favored, won Best Actor, Best Screenplay, and Best Original Score. At the Golden Globe nominations banquet at the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel, Aaron and Dawn Steele discussed the script for Twister, Is Jan de Bont interested in directing? Aaron took a sip of his wine. He just directed Con Air, starring Tom Cruise. Doesn't he need a break? Don Steele smiled and shook his head. He wants to direct a special effects blockbuster. The budget will be higher this time. Perhaps Jan de Bont also wants to quickly complete his 3-film directing contract with Sugwong. Jan de Bont's debut film Speed made him a hit, and this year he directed the $60 million blockbuster Con Air, starring Tom Cruise. Now, he wants to direct the special effects blockbuster Twister? What's the budget you want? Over $90 million, Aaron smiled. No wonder, it's possible. After all, he already directed Speed and Con Air. Speed cost $33 million to produce, and in return it earned $350 million at the global box office, enough for Jan de Bont to propose his own ideas. Don Steele nodded. She also supported Jan de Bont directing. Twister won't be released until the year after next, so it probably won't make it to the summer box office, so it'll be released during the Christmas season. Alright, let Jan de Bont get started on this project as soon as possible, Aaron said. He wasn't too worried about the investment in a special effects-heavy film. Fortunately, Roland Emmerich's Independence Day had a budget of $75 million. I'm really looking forward to next year. Jan de Bont's Con Air, starring Tom Cruise, David Fincher's S7N, starring Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, Jonathan Demme's The Silence of the Lambs, The Beginning starring Anthony Hopkins, Nicolas Cage, and Ralph Fiennes, Michael Bay's Bad Boys for Life, starring Will Smith, and Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility, based on Jane Austen, starring Emma Thompson and Hugh Grant. These are all collaborations between renowned and future directors and big stars. By the way, what's the status of the production on Men in Black? Aaron was always interested in these special effects blockbuster projects. The script has been adapted, and Barry Sonnenfeld has been chosen for the director. Barry Sonnenfeld, the director of the Addams Family series. Aaron thought for a moment. Gothic style. Indeed, he's quite suitable. The Addams Family is a dark, gothic fantasy comedy. Don Steele spread her hands. Barry Sonnenfeld has signed on to direct MGM's dark satire Get Shorty later this year. The male lead is John Travolta, and filming is still ongoing. Men in Black won't officially begin until at least the second half of next year. The release of Pulp Fiction this year truly catapulted John Travolta's career back to prominence. Choosing John Travolta as the male lead in Get Shorty is understandable. Also, we chose John Travolta for the male lead in Broken Arrow. Do you have any suggestions for another lead? Don Steele asked. Aaron shook his head. Just find someone suitable. What do you think of Nicolas Cage? Nicolas Cage? He probably doesn't have time. Don Steele smiled. After he finished filming Our Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, he took on this art film, Leaving Las Vegas. It's based on the autobiographical novel of the same name by screenwriter John O'Brien. He committed suicide in April of this year, after the rights to the novel were sold. Aaron rubbed his chin. Leaving Las Vegas, isn't that the film for which Nicolas Cage won the Best Actor Oscar? Is this Leaving Las Vegas filming now? Yeah, it's been shooting for almost a month now. We're expecting it to wrap in February and be released at the end of the year. It's a low-budget art film. I see. Then Nicolas Cage really doesn't have time, Aaron said, feeling a little sorry he couldn't see the Nicolas Cage and John Travolta duel in advance. Because Broken Arrow is set to start shooting in January of next year, Don has a backup actor, but they haven't confirmed him yet. Right now, we are in contact with male stars such as Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves, Christian Slater, and Val Kilmer. We are more optimistic about Val Kilmer. He starred in Batman Forever this year, but now he has a script for Heat. Heat is a police film, and the two leading actors are Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, two Oscar winners. Don Steele's meaning was very clear. It would be difficult for the other party to refuse this opportunity to work with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, although Broken Arrow is also an action film with an investment of $50 million. It is definitely inferior to Heat. Aaron curled his lips. Continue to communicate with the other candidates. The release date of Broken Arrow has been set, and it has to start according to plan. Chapter 319 Market Stimulation. Elizabeth Hurley, fresh off filming GoldenEye, received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Forrest Gump. The film's immense popularity cemented her place in Hollywood. Aaron, this is the first time I've been recognized by such a prestigious award, the tall, voluptuous Elizabeth Hurley said excitedly as she embraced Aaron. Aaron embraced her waist, kissed her, and smiled. Congratulations. Now a lot of people know you. Among Xu Guang's films, not only Elizabeth Hurley, nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Forrest Gump, but also Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction and child actress Kirsten Dunst from Interview with a Vampire were nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Elizabeth Hurley rubbed her 34C breasts against Aaron's arm, unable to conceal her joy. It's all because of you. How else would I have this opportunity? I don't know how I can ever repay you, Aaron shrugged. You deserve it. With the success of Forrest Gump this year and GoldenEye next year, your career is on the rise. GoldenEye was released 6 years after the previous film, License to Kill, and Pierce Brosnan replaced Timothy Dalton as James Bond. Furthermore, the script was partially revised during filming because the plot shared similarities with the currently released True Lies. Elizabeth Hurley couldn't contain her excitement and dragged Aaron Anderson to the upstairs bathroom in the hotel ballroom. Aaron responded enthusiastically to Elizabeth Hurley's passionate embrace and kiss, caressing her 36C breasts beneath her sexy evening gown. Well, am I really not as attractive to you as Catherine Zeta-Jones? Elizabeth Hurley leaned against the man and reached out to unbuckle Aaron's belt. You're fine, Aaron said, picking up Elizabeth Hurley and sitting her down on the sink. With the announcement of the nominations for the 53rd Golden Globe Awards, Dawn TV was undoubtedly the biggest winner, and this year was filled with excellent films. Dawn TV's two series, ER and Friends, saw soaring ratings. ER was even nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Drama Series. Aaron and Sophie Marceau enjoyed afternoon tea at the Chateau Marmont in West Hollywood. Luc Besson's Léon, The Professional is beautifully filmed and has received rave reviews. Although Léon, The Professional didn't do well at the US box office, critics still found this French-style Hollywood action film very appealing. Sophie Marceau smiled. You know, in recent years, stimulated by Hollywood movies, the output and box office of French films have continued to decline. In this market environment, Luc Besson has only explored the commercialization of movies. If you want to compete with Hollywood, you have to use the Hollywood way. Léon, The Professional is a good start. Aaron took a sip of coffee. I heard that Gaumont agreed to invest in Luc Besson to shoot a French science fiction blockbuster, which will be shot and operated using the Hollywood model. Yes, the investment is huge. Gaumont has also found Sony Columbia and Hollywood to cooperate. Why, are you interested? Aaron shook his head. Dawn has several blockbusters to shoot next, including action movies like The Rock and Broken Arrow. There are also special effects blockbusters like Twister and Independence Day, and the investment is not low. Sophie Marceau sighed. Aaron, why are you always focusing on commercial blockbusters now? Aaron spread his hands. Xu Guang Group is growing bigger and bigger now, with more and more employees. It's no longer the small independent production company it once was. It has a huge distribution network, and there are many people to support. For the North American market alone, we have 32 distribution regions, and we have distribution offices in each region, including overseas markets. Xu Guang has established international branches in the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Australia, and Japan. Even now, Xu Guang's international distribution network still lags behind the big six studios. Xu Guang still lacks its own channels in Latin America, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and most of Asia. Well, it's really Hollywood style. Sophie Marceau smiled at Aaron. You look so beautiful in Braveheart. Aaron couldn't help but praise her. Sophie Marceau shrugged. Although Braveheart is a historical film, many of the plots are fictional. I know that. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Isn't the love story between William Wallace and the French Princess Isabella a fabrication? After all, in real history, Princess Isabella married into England from France 3 years after William Wallace's death. According to Sophie Marceau, in Braveheart, Princess Isabella, played by her, not only fell in love with William Wallace but also became pregnant with his son. So, the heir to the British throne is William Wallace's son? What a wild idea. A little later, Aaron ran into Tom Cruise and Paul Verhoeven at the hotel, discussing the movie Mission Impossible with director Brian De Palma. Cruise-Verhoeven Productions' first film, Mission Impossible, was about to begin filming, and veteran Hollywood director Brian De Palma had been chosen as the director. Because Tom Cruise plays the leading actor, the investor Paramount also gave a production budget of $70 million. Moreover, Paramount did not choose to cooperate with other film companies. You know, in recent years, Paramount has chosen to cooperate with other film companies for projects of this level of investment to share risks. Braveheart is a collaboration between Paramount and 20th Century Fox, and the two have the North American and international distribution rights respectively. The Chase is a joint investment between Paramount and Universal, and similarly, Paramount is responsible for the North American market and Universal is responsible for the international market. Obviously, Paramount has very high expectations for Mission Impossible, and Paramount should be very optimistic about Tom Cruise. Let's go. Sophie Marceau kissed Aaron on the face, and then took Aaron's arm and left the hotel. Chapter 320, Go All In. Jim Carrey, Dumb and Dumber. Aaron was driving on Sunset Boulevard when he saw a large poster for the Jim Carrey comedy Dumb and Dumber at a nearby theater. Sophie Marceau, sitting in the passenger seat, took a quick glance and couldn't help but exclaim, "This actor is really on fire this year. He's in two of Don's films, Ace Ventura and The Mask, another comedy at the end of the year, 3 hits in the same year." Aaron smiled. Starting this year, Jim Carrey's name has been known all over Hollywood. Dumb and Dumber grossed $16 million in its first 3 days, and after just 10 days, it had already grossed $40 million in North America. New Line Studios only spent $17 million to produce Dumb and Dumber. How about it? Are you interested in participating in this kind of nonsensical American comedy? Aaron said, reaching out and caressing Sophie Marceau's thigh. Sophie Marceau shook her head directly. "Maybe I can consider French comedy, but this American style of comedy is not suitable for me. Hasn't that fat French man Gerard Depardieu starred in several Hollywood works?" Aaron reminded. "Actually, you don't have to stick to the French literary and artistic sentiments. The commercial attributes of Hollywood are also the driving force for the development of the film industry. France, as the birthplace of film and the film center of Europe, does have its own pride and persistence, but now, the market will choose, and Luc Besson has seen it clearly." Sophie Marceau shrugged. "Anyway, it doesn't matter. With you here, I can definitely be more willful, right?" Of course, with the arrival of the end of the year, the two most important events in Hollywood are, one is that Jeffrey Katzenberg, Steven Spielberg, and David Geffen founded DreamWorks SKG Entertainment. The other is that the American Dawn Entertainment and the Canadian Seagram Group are bidding for Panasonic's MCA Global Entertainment Group. Seagram Group enlisted the help of Wall Street's Blackstone, while Seagram relied on CAA, managed by Michael Ovitz. However, besides Seagram and Seagram, other investors have also expressed interest in MCA. German publishing giant Bertelsmann and Mac Andrews and Forbes Incorporated, an investment firm led by American buyout magnate Ronald Perelman, also appear to be interested. Hasn't PolyGram said anything? Aaron leaned back in his chair at Seagram headquarters in Burbank, asking if PolyGram had any interest. Jessica Parker shook her head. "We don't know if PolyGram has privately contacted Panasonic. Right now, it's mainly the four of us who have our sights on MCA worldwide." As for Ronald Perelman, Aaron smiled. "Forget him. MCA is worth over $6 billion. He doesn't have the capital." Marvel Holdings, currently owned by Ronald Perelman's investment firm, is heavily indebted and in a mess. A major entertainment conglomerate like MCA is beyond the reach of investment firms like them. Bertelsmann does have thoughts on entering the media industry. Aaron tapped the table. Bertelsmann, having acquired RCA Music in the 1980s and founded BMG, Bertelsmann Music Group, is unsurprisingly interested in MCA. Besides publishing, Bertelsmann also owns Germany's UFA Films and RTL Television. Just wait and see when the offer comes. MCA isn't doing well right now. Not everyone has the guts to take it over. Even Universal Pictures, for example, few can guarantee success. Meanwhile, at CAA headquarters in Beverly Hills, Edgar Bronfman Jr. and Michael Ovitz were also in their office discussing MCA. Michael Ovitz had a serious look on his face, and sounded a little worried. Aaron Anderson has met with the heads of several banks and investment companies on Wall Street before. With Dawn's current momentum, the acquisition of Universal will definitely gain the support of investors. Michael Ovitz was worried about this because it was closely related to his own future. If Seagram acquired MCA, he would become the manager of MCA. Edgar Bronfman Jr. frowned. "Washington will not participate in the competition between us. Everything must be based on strength." Now it's not just Aaron Anderson. We have to be wary of Ronald Perelman as well. Michael Ovitz certainly knew Ronald Perelman. The two knew each other and both had considerable experience on Wall Street. He looked at Edgar Bronfman Jr. and shook his head. The biggest competitor is still Aaron Anderson's Seagram Group, whether it is Bertelsmann Group or Ronald Perelman. It will be difficult to come up with this money to acquire MCA at one time, because they can't solve MCA's current downturn, but Sugan is different. Aaron Anderson has the ability, and he still has the capital for the acquisition, Michael Ovitz said seriously. The biggest advantage of Seagram's current acquisition of MCA is that it can provide more cash flow, which is what Panasonic needs most. Seagram, when are you going to sell your DuPont shares? Edgar Bronfman Jr. glanced at Michael Ovitz. Anytime, but if the price is too high, others will definitely object. Michael Ovitz was stunned. If Seagram didn't make up his mind, how could he beat Sugan? Edgar, you have to understand, Aaron Anderson went from being a CAA agent to Hollywood tycoon in just 5 or 6 years. That's quite remarkable, not to mention his God-given mind and his utterly desperate determination. When Suzuki founded Dawn, he dared to stake his entire fortune on a single film. This time, when he had the opportunity to acquire MCA Universal, he must have been thoroughly prepared. How did Summer Redstone defeat Hollywood's son, Barry Diller, and acquire Paramount? It was because Summer Redstone was so determined to acquire Paramount that he forced Barry Diller to give up with a high price. The current situation between Seagram and Dawn for MCA is so similar to that time. As long as Seagram is willing to offer a high price, Dawn will definitely not keep matching. Edgar Bronfman Jr. was a little displeased. Seagram's acquisition of MCA had few family members supporting him to begin with. If the price continued to rise during the bidding process with Dawn, what would the rest of the Seagram group think? Then he waved his hand and said, wait for the quote. Chapter 321 Who Gave Me the Courage? With Sony and Philips proposing the multimedia compact disc, MMCD, standard, and Toshiba, Time Warner, and Panasonic proposing the ultra-high-density disc, SD, standard, does the emergence of 2DVD, digital video disc, standards herald a new round of competition? Much like the battle for videotape standards in the 1980s, when Sony's Betamax format battled against the victorious VHS format, only to be defeated once Panasonic and other companies switched to VHS. The advent of videotapes undoubtedly had a significant impact on Hollywood, and the home entertainment market was a lucrative market that everyone coveted. Now, the next generation of digital video discs represents the future, and manufacturers like Sony, Philips, Panasonic, and Toshiba are determined to seize this opportunity. Aaron had come to the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills specifically to meet with Lawrence Tisch, chairman of the Los Angeles Corporation. Mr. Tisch, I didn't expect you to meet me. Aaron was surprised that Lawrence Tisch had taken the initiative to meet him. Los Corporation originally started out as a chain of movie theaters, the Los Cinema line, and later expanded into resort hotels and shopping malls. Under the management of brothers Lawrence and Preston Tisch, Los Corporation now controls the CBS radio network. Columbia TriStar Motion Picture Group is now the majority shareholder of the Los Cinema chain, and Lawrence Tisch must have come to see him because of CBS. Lawrence Tisch smiled and said, Aaron, you have a place in Hollywood these days, isn't it natural for me to want to meet with you? Aaron couldn't deny it, but wasn't Disney trying to acquire CBS? Shouldn't Lawrence Tisch be dealing with Michael Eisner? Aaron nodded. I wonder, Mr. Tisch, what's the matter with you? With the new communications law in effect, the tiny Los Corporation couldn't possibly protect CBS. The Tisch brothers' acquisition of CBS was a complete accident. It was Ted Turner's TBS, the broadcast network, that had actually attempted to acquire CBS. However, antitrust and Jewish influence prevented TBS from succeeding. After all, Ted Turner already controlled CNN, and controlling a national network would have greatly increased his influence. Today, the United States has 5 major news networks, CNN, and the 4 major broadcast networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. CNN is the cable news channel with the highest ratings. Lawrence Tisch took a deep breath. Disney has approached us about acquiring CBS, but their attitude is so condescending. I don't like it. As one of the 3 major wireless networks, CBS has its own value. Perhaps we don't have any cable channels, so we're not being valued, but that's not important anymore. I want to ask Aaron, how interested are you in wireless networks? Aaron blinked. What Hollywood film group wouldn't be interested in wireless networks? A national television station like that would surely be of great interest. Such publicity and distribution resources are highly valued by Hollywood film groups. Lawrence Tisch said seriously, Aaron, I want to merge CBS and Dawn through an equity swap, a 1:1 ratio. After the merger, Los will own half of the new company. Aaron raised his eyelids. CBS's ratings are currently the lowest among the three major networks, right? Even the new Fox is eyeing you." Aaron was speechless. "Are all Jews this good at business these days? What kind of company is Dawn?" "The film group with the highest interest rates in Hollywood." Lawrence Tish explained. "Aaron, the newly merged company will definitely be centered around you. No one will interfere." Aaron took a sip of his wine and said, "Mr. Tish, don't you know that Dawn is acquiring MCA? I don't have the time or energy to think about TV stations right now." Aaron was now somewhat skeptical. Lawrence Tish was hired by Edgar Bronfman Jr., a wireless broadcast network was certainly worthy of Aaron's attention, but directly acquiring half the shares was audacious. "Aaron, if Dawn has the distribution and broadcasting capabilities of CBS, it will definitely be able to go further. Right now, all the media groups in Hollywood have their sights set on TV stations," Lawrence Tish continued. Aaron shook his head. "The most important thing for Dawn right now is to acquire MCA. If Los Angeles wants to sell CBS, Dawn is certainly interested. I think a cash and equity deal would be best. As for the 1:1 ratio, I think that's impossible." Lawrence Tish remained steadfast. "Then you can own 51% of the new company." Aaron stood up, stretched, and laughed out loud. "It seems, Mr. Tish, you have no idea what Dawn represents in Hollywood." He then shook his head. "Other TV stations are in the same predicament as CBS, but not as severe. Perhaps becoming part of Disney would be more in the interests of Los Angeles." There was no point in talking without saying anything. Aaron wondered who had given Lawrence Tish the courage to dictate Hollywood's policies. Of the three major established wireless networks, CBS was in the most precarious position. Even General Electric's NBC was struggling to improve its competitiveness, let alone Los Angeles CBS. After Lawrence Tish left, Aaron began to think. Since they'd come to him, it seemed the negotiations between Disney and Los Angeles weren't going well. Disney had turned to CBS after its failed acquisition of NBC, and now that CBS was also facing problems, that left them with only one target, CBS-ABC. That evening, Aaron and Sophie Marceau arrived at a private, upscale club on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. "It seems there are quite a few Hollywood bigwigs here." On the second-floor private room sofa, Sophie Marceau leaned in Aaron's arms, a smile on her face. Aaron kissed the girl, caressing her soft body, and reminded her, the Screen Actors Guild in Hollywood is planning to create its own Screen Actors Guild Awards. The first one will be held early next year, and these are all heavyweights from the Screen Actors Guild. The Directors Guild Awards in Hollywood have been around for a long time, and the Producers Guild Awards in Hollywood were first held in 1990. Now, the Producers Guild Awards and the Directors Guild Awards have become important indicators of the Oscars, and Hollywood's largest group, actors, are also creating their own Guild Awards. "I see." Chapter 322 Ronald Meyer. "Yes, Sophie." Aaron leaned back on the sofa, breathing rapidly, his hands caressing Sophie Marceau's long chestnut hair. After a moment, Aaron released his grip, and Sophie Marceau looked up and gave him a complaining look. She then stood up, took a sip from the whiskey beside her, and smoothed her messy hair. "Are you a little distracted?" Aaron smiled and rubbed the woman's body a few times. "No, I guess I've just been busy lately." "Okay, come here. You must have other things to do, right?" Sophie Marceau said as she sorted Aaron's clothes. "Yes, I have appointments with other people too." Half an hour later, Sophie Marceau left the private room to meet with some Hollywood actors, while Ronald Meyer, the president of CAA, arrived in Aaron's private room. "Long time no see, Ronald." Ronald Meyer smiled wryly. "Yes, it's been a long time." The former CAA assistant agent has become an unattainable Hollywood entertainment mogul. Any information on Michael Ovitz and Edgar Bronfman Jr.'s offer for MCA? Aaron didn't care about Ronald Meyer's inner thoughts, he only cared about how much information he had. According to Michael Ovitz, it's probably about the same as Panasonic's acquisition price. According to him, Panasonic's original intention was to recover its original investment. Ronald Meyer spread his hands. "You know, Panasonic has also incurred huge losses in its Universal Pictures business. Panasonic is no match for Sony, and the Japanese headquarters doesn't want to continue investing." Aaron frowned and looked at him. "That's not enough information, Ronald." Ronald Meyer took a sip of his wine and smiled mysteriously. "Edgar Bronfman Jr. met with me privately. If Seagram can acquire MCA, he will give me the position of president of Universal Pictures." "Edgar Bronfman Jr. met with you privately?" Aaron tapped his fingers. Does this mean he's keeping it a secret from Michael Ovitz? Yes, Ronald Mayer nodded. Aaron glanced at Ronald Mayer. What does Edgar Bronfman Jr. mean? Does he no longer trust Michael Ovitz? I don't know the specifics, Ronald Mayer thought for a moment, but my guess is that Michael Ovitz is asking prices too high. He's asking a lot for Edgar Bronfman Jr. to run MCA Universal. Especially since Michael Eisner at Disney kept asking him. Michael Ovitz seems to be getting more and more confident. With the lobbying of Michael Eisner, chairman and CEO of Disney, Michael Ovitz repeatedly increased his compensation to Edgar Bronfman Jr. Aaron understood. Edgar Bronfman Jr. was planning to burn his bridges after crossing them. He was just waiting for Seagram's successful acquisition of MCA Universal, then he would sever all ties with Michael Ovitz. Oh, but Seagram's not guaranteed to succeed, Aaron was confident in himself. So, while Michael Ovitz is helping Seagram acquire MCA, he's also constantly in contact with Disney's Michael Eisner. If Seagram's acquisition of MCA fails, Michael Ovitz will immediately accept the Disney CEO position. Even if Ronald Mayer didn't say it, Aaron knew this was Michael Ovitz's fallback plan. Aaron nodded. The situation was quite complicated. Furthermore, Sugan and Seagram are competing for Panasonic's MCA. Based on my suspicions about Michael Ovitz, he doesn't believe Seagram will win against Sugan. Ronald Mayer said this, glancing at Aaron Anderson. The pressure from Sugan had already eroded Michael Ovitz's confidence. This was also why Michael Ovitz had unintentionally ignored Edgar Bronfman Jr. and met more frequently with Michael Eisner. So, even though Edgar Bronfman Jr. has begun to trust you, hasn't he told you the details about Seagram's acquisition of MCA? Aaron asked. Aaron didn't care much about Michael Ovitz or Ronald Mayer. He was now interested in Edgar Bronfman Jr.'s true intentions. Ronald Mayer shook his head. Michael Ovitz is still primarily leading the acquisition. Edgar Bronfman Jr. simply invited me to join Universal when the time comes. By the way, there might be another piece of news you might find interesting, Ronald Mayer reminded him. He knew he needed intelligence to satisfy the other party. Aaron looked up. What's the news? Francois Gilles, the representative from Crédit Paris and the manager responsible for MGM, came to CAA a few days ago. He discussed MGM's future with Michael Ovitz, and Bill Harbour and I were both involved. According to Crédit Paris, they hope to sell MGM to cash out. MGM's production performance has improved over the past 2 years, and MGM's value has recovered significantly. Crédit Paris had considered splitting up MGM United Artists, but Michael Ovitz dissuaded them. Michael Ovitz wanted to use CAA to control MGM behind the scenes, but he found that he couldn't avoid the antitrust investigation, and CAA could only own a maximum of 10% of MGM. Therefore, CAA specifically helped MGM United Artists invite Frank Marcuse and John Cully to manage the company, and also arranged for CAA and MGM to sign a comprehensive package agreement. Aaron nodded. MGM's release of Carlock Stargate did well at the box office this year, and next year there will be blockbusters like GoldenEye. Compared to the Kirk Kerkorian era, it's indeed much better, and MGM mainly plays the role of a distributor, and the profits are not all its own. It's understandable that Crédit Paris wants to sell MGM to cash in while the times are good. Oh, Aaron understood, and then looked at Ronald Mayer. Is Michael Ovitz treating MGM United Artists as a backup for MCA? Yes, Michael Ovitz mentioned to us that if Seagram's acquisition of MCA fails, then he can only suggest that Edgar Bronfman Jr. acquire MGM United Artists. Ronald Mayer spread his hands. The Hollywood film companies are all already owned. If Seagram's acquisition of MCA Universal fails, there will be no other choice. MGM United Artists will be the only option. Aaron smiled. This idea is actually very good. Acquiring MGM United Artists is also a good idea. At least they have sufficient foundation and a strong reputation. Chapter 323 Stunning Pete. After Ronald Mayer left, Aaron poured himself a glass of wine. In fact, Aaron thought Seagram's acquisition of MGM United Artists would be a good choice. As Christmas 1994 approached, the year was drawing to a close. For Hollywood, this year had been nothing short of astonishing. So many excellent films had been released, especially Forrest Gump, The Lion King, and Pulp Fiction, which had received rave reviews and widespread popularity. At King's Wharf in Los Angeles, Aaron's private yacht hosted a Christmas party to celebrate Don's success this year. Don's executives and Hollywood stars gathered to enjoy a wonderful evening. On the deck, Aaron hugged Monica Bellucci while admiring the fireworks show on the pier. Janda Bont has been selected as the director of Dawn's special effects disaster movie Twister. Shooting will start soon, and you will play the leading role then. Monica Bellucci, who is wearing a sexy low-cut long dress, nodded when she heard this, and then kissed Aaron on the face. Director Janda Bont just shot the action blockbuster Con Air starring Tom Cruise. Right, yes, this director is pretty good. His debut work was Speed, and then he directed Con Air. Now he's helping Dawn shoot Twister. Your role isn't difficult. You're about a young girl who lost her father in a tornado and later becomes a meteorologist studying tornadoes, Aaron said, then lowered his head and kissed the woman in his arms. Twister itself is a disaster-themed blockbuster, with lots of special effects shots. Perhaps, for the actors themselves, there aren't many opportunities to perform. Monica Bellucci shook her head. To be the leading lady in a Hollywood blockbuster, that's what so many people dream of. I'm just worried about whether I can portray the role well. Since it's a big movie, will it affect the overall quality of the film? Aaron smiled, caressed the woman, and comforted her. It's okay. Look at Jurassic Park, which came out 2 years ago. Aren't the audiences all about the dinosaurs? As for the actors, they're just the foils for the dinosaurs. Okay, I get it, Monica Bellucci said, turning around and hugging the man for a kiss. Aaron sensed her passion and immediately hugged the woman tightly, returning the kiss. A while later, Aaron returned to the cabin and ran into Brad Pitt. He remembered that he had come with his girlfriend, Gwyneth Paltrow. With the release of Interview with the Vampire and Legends of the Phoenix this year, your fame has skyrocketed. Aaron smiled and shook Brad Pitt's hand. That's all thanks to Soo Kwang's support. Brad Pitt's performances in Interview with the Vampire and Legends of the Phoenix were stunning enough to make him a Hollywood star. Furthermore, with David Fincher's Seven set to be released next year, Brad Pitt's career has been incredibly successful over the past 2 years. By the way, I heard you've joined a sci-fi thriller from Universal, Aaron suddenly asked. Since Soo Kwang was acquiring MCA, Aaron had been paying close attention to Universal's productions. Brad Pitt nodded. Yes, I'll be playing a supporting role, sort of like the thief in Thelma and Louise. The film project is called 12 Monkeys, and it's got a bit of a cerebral plot. The script is based on Embankment, a 28-minute short film from the left bank style of the French New Wave from the 1960s. The short was directed by Chris Marker, and the visuals are very stylized. The story is about a future scientist who sends prisoners back in time to gather information about a human forced to live underground due to nuclear fallout. As Brad Pitt explained, Aaron understood the plot of 12 Monkeys. The plot was suspenseful and cerebral, but not particularly dramatic. But I heard 12 Monkeys stars Bruce Willis. Judging by the plot, isn't it an action movie? And Bruce Willis's status as an action star is now a household name. Brad Pitt spread his hands. The director of 12 Monkeys is Terry Gilliam, and he indeed did not consider Bruce Willis at the beginning. After all, the investment in 12 Monkeys is not that high, and Bruce Willis's salary is probably unaffordable. Unfortunately, Universal Pictures considered that Bruce Willis's joining could provide sufficient guarantee for the box office of the film. Aaron pursed his lips. Indeed, if Bruce Willis had joined, the influence of 12 Monkeys would have increased a lot. Brad Pitt took a sip of wine and continued, so, since Universal wants Bruce Willis to join, and Bruce Willis hopes to achieve a transformation in his style and be able to try more different role types and performance methods. In this case, director Terry Gilliam will of course listen to Universal Pictures. In addition to the Die Hard series, Bruce Willis has a lot of bad movies released every year. He participated in Pulp Fiction this year, and with the popularity of the movie, Bruce Willis became even more famous. Now, it is normal for Bruce Willis to be interested in a science fiction suspense film. The most important thing is that Bruce Willis himself also cherishes this opportunity to participate in the performance. For this movie, Bruce Willis even significantly reduced his salary, just to be able to work with director Terry Gilliam. Then, Aaron patted Brad Pitt on the shoulder. Enjoy the party. At night, in the bedroom of Bel Air Manor, Aaron lay on Monica Bellucci, feeling the girl's sexy 36D. Monica Bellucci hugged Aaron Anderson tightly, panting, Aaron, the influence of the Victoria's Secret show is getting bigger and bigger. After 2 consecutive years, the discussion of the Victoria's Secret show has become more and more heated. Well, Aaron raised his head, looked at the plump Monica Bellucci under him, and smiled. I almost forgot that you shot a lingerie advertisement for Victoria's Secret, and Sophie Marceau also shot a set of French advertisements for Victoria's Secret last year. Monica Bellucci reached out and stroked Aaron's hair. It seems that Victoria's Secret underwear now does not need our advertising, because the success of the Victoria's Secret show, sales are continuing to rise. Well, Monica Bellucci was blocked by Aaron before she finished speaking. Chapter 324 No shortage of blonde beauties. New Year's Eve at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. Aaron and Peter Peterson of Blackstone Group sat on the sofa at the hotel, enjoying the New Year's Eve in Los Angeles. Tomorrow, we will make our first offer to Panasonic, $6 billion, to acquire MCA. Aaron's face did not change as he listened to Peter Peterson's words. $6 billion. It will probably be difficult to impress those Japanese. It's just a tentative offer, and Panasonic is very interested in Akebano's shares. This is our biggest bargaining chip. Aaron nodded. My bottom line is to give Panasonic no more than 10% of the shares of the new Akebano Group. The rest is up to you. Peter Peterson smiled. Aaron, the total box office in the North American market exceeded $5 billion in 1994, and Akebano contributed $850 million. The market share is 16.8%, ranking first in Hollywood, and the 6 major distributors are all below it. This terrifying momentum makes Akebano unstoppable. Forrest Gump contributed $300 million. The Mask contributed $120 million. My Best Friend's Wedding and Interview with a Vampire also contributed more than $100 million each. There are also Ace Ventura, Rumble in the Bronx and Pulp Fiction and so on. Yet, I'll be going to New York in a few days. Aaron then left the Peninsula Hotel and headed to Universal Studios Hollywood to enjoy the New Year's Eve fireworks show. Aaron, you're here. Inside the Universal Studios Club, Nicole Kidman excitedly embraced Aaron. They said, their passionate kiss instantly captivating Aaron. After the kiss, Aaron hugged Nicole Kidman and came to the window. Well, look, the New Year's Eve fireworks at Universal Studios are pretty good. Nicole Kidman nodded, leaned in the man's arms, and said lazily, Don's performance this year is scary enough. This is the first time in Hollywood that several major traditional distributors did not get first place. Aaron smiled, put his hand inside the coat of the girl in his arms, and stroked the softness. Well, Dawn is the first this year. Isn't it amazing? Amazing. Nicole Kidman clung tightly to the man's arms, raised her head and kissed him. Besides, you are still acquiring Universal. Then it will be even more amazing. More. Have you completed the early preparations for the new Edward Zwick film co-starring with Denzel Washington? Aaron leaned close to the girl's ear and put his hand into her underwear. Nicole Kidman breathed rapidly and opened her mouth. It's almost done. The film will probably start shooting in March. By the way, Aaron, I introduced a newcomer to the cast of The Rock. She plays a small supporting role. She's also from Australia. We worked together in Australia a few years ago. You're a big star now. It shouldn't be a big problem to introduce an actor to you, right? Aaron didn't care. The Rock hadn't started shooting yet, and director Michael Bay's first film, Bad Boys, hadn't even been released yet. Nicole Kidman leaned on Aaron's shoulder and raised the corners of her mouth. My friend is a blonde beauty. She's British. She lived in Australia for a few years before making her debut. This year, she also came to Hollywood to shoot a movie based on the Tank Girl comic book. Tank Girl is a cult science fiction comic serialized in the British magazine Deadline. Oh, blondes. Hollywood has no shortage of blondes. Aaron looked up, and sparkling fireworks shot up into the sky. In the middle of the night, Aaron and Nicole Kidman drove back to Santa Monica together. That woman next to director Martin Scorsese we just met, that woman is Sharon Stone, right? Nicole Kidman asked from the passenger seat. Aaron rubbed Nicole Kidman's thigh as he drove. That's her. Martin Scorsese directed a movie called Casino that came out this year. Sharon Stone is the heroine, and it stars Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and other actors. It's another crime film about gangs, but this time it's set in Las Vegas. Casino is based on the non-fiction novel Casino, Love and Honor in Las Vegas by New York crime reporter Nicholas Pileggi. Like Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, Martin Scorsese's new film Casino dwells heavily on the relationship between the mafia and Las Vegas. However, Casino performed poorly at the North American box office, grossing only $42 million. Well, it seems that the crew of Casino also contacted me. I thought the role was that of a sexy gold digger, so I turned it down. Nicole Kidman spoke again. Not only did I turn it down, but Uma Thurman, Michelle Pfeiffer and others who were contacted by the crew also turned it down. Aaron turned his head and looked at Nicole Kidman. Sharon Stone's performance in this movie should be her peak. In fact, the movie Casino is not bad either, and Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci are also veteran gangster actors. There are still more positive reviews for Casino than negative ones. Empire magazine: Casino may not be director Martin Scorsese's greatest work, but this mistimed film still feels much better than the others. I believe it will only become more impressive as time goes by. The New York Times: with wonderful set pieces, rich dialogue, screen-filling violence, well-developed characters and themes of loyalty and betrayal, Casino is pure Scorsese in every way. The Los Angeles Times: Casino is not the director's top work, but it is still a fascinating movie. The Houston Post: the movie is long, but the 3 hours pass quickly due to the fast-moving plot, the increasing tension and the surprising humor. Casino is one of the few works worth seeing. Variety magazine: Casino essentially attempts to tell the history of the Las Vegas mob in the 1970s. It will be interesting, but viewers may find that their interest has exceeded their limit. San Francisco Chronicle: this movie isn't about people, it's about Las Vegas. It's an ambitious film, but it's also an unfocused one. Scorsese has a lot to tell about Las Vegas and its customs, but he doesn't dramatize them. Chapter 325, Everything. Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades. Nicole Kidman lay sprawled, Aaron propping his head up, his hand caressing the girl's fair, voluptuous body. There are more and more Australian filmmakers in Hollywood these days. Compared to American actors, I actually prefer British and Australian actors. Nicole Kidman smiled. No wonder, there have been so many foreign actors in dance films over the past 2 years, especially actresses, speaking English, French, Italian, and Spanish. Everything. Hey, you're teasing me, Aaron said, chuckling, caressing the girl's soft flesh. I understand, too. Foreign actors have fewer opportunities in Hollywood, and they're more obedient. Nicole Kidman saw it clearly. If she hadn't just arrived and met Aaron Anderson, Hollywood's golden boy, how could she have achieved her current success? Aaron nodded. Yes, that's one reason. Another reason is professional ability. Most British and Australian actors are professionals with a background in theatre. They've undergone systematic training, and their language and acting skills are not weak. Of course, foreign actors are much cheaper than American actors. Just like Nicole Kidman now, with hits like Ghost and Sleepless in Seattle to her credit, her salary is not as high as that of American actresses like Julia Roberts, Demi Moore, and Jodie Foster. Compared to American actors, their professional abilities are weaker, and once they become a little famous, they go to shit commercials or something. Nicole Kidman blinked. Foreign actors like us who dare to come to Hollywood must have something to show for it. Britain and Australia are okay. They speak English anyway, and that's our advantage compared to other countries. Aaron lowered his head, kissed Nicole Kidman on the mouth, and lay on the girl. The film industry in Britain and Australia is a mess, and the current trend is for talents to go to Hollywood. However, the cost of shooting in Hollywood is relatively high now, and it's also a trend for movies to be shot abroad. Nicole Kidman reached out and stroked Aaron's body. Dawn UK company is developing well. In fact, Australia also has subsidies for the entertainment industry, in the form of cash grants or tax rebates. Australia is a huge country with basically all kinds of terrain, which can meet Hollywood's needs for different locations. Labor costs are also low. 20th Century Fox has built a production base in Sydney. As Australia's current representative actor in Hollywood, Nicole Kidman is very famous in Australia. Regardless, she definitely wanted to promote Australia's entertainment industry, and she was also happy to attract Hollywood studios to film in Australia. Well, News Corp is Australia's entertainment group. Aaron rolled off the girl, his hands behind his head. But Australia is indeed a good choice for Hollywood. It's just that, right now, the main foreign filming locations for Hollywood are still mainly Canada. The UK has a large concentration of film industry personnel, and now it's attracting more and more crews. Australia, after all, is too far from the United States and is in the southern hemisphere. Plus, Australia's film industry is not very developed, so its appeal to Hollywood is not very strong. Well, I don't really understand any of this. Australia and New Zealand have a population of about 22 million. Hollywood won't miss this market. With that, Nicole Kidman slumped down on the man. With the arrival of 1995, Sugan and Seagram offered Panasonic $6 billion and $5.8 billion, respectively, to acquire MCA Group. However, Panasonic considered the price too low, and Herbert Allen, acting as its representative, issued a statement stating that Panasonic's board of directors would not accept an offer below $6.5 billion. After Panasonic issued its statement, Ronald Perlman, a Wall Street leveraged buyout expert who had been interested in MCA, was the first to withdraw. PolyGram and Bertelsmann followed suit. In New York, Manhattan's West Village, Aaron leaned back in his chair in Sugan's office, speaking on the phone with Peter Peterson. "Are Sugwang and Seagram the only ones left?" Aaron smiled. "Has Edgar Bronfman Jr. sold his DuPont stock?" "Not yet. I haven't heard of any large-scale DuPont stock transactions yet." "All right, keep quoting." "Wall Street banks and funds are backing us anyway." Aaron hung up the phone and picked up a copy of the Wall Street Journal from his desk. Besides the news about Panasonic's acquisition of MCA, there was also news about another emerging Hollywood film company, DreamWorks SKG. South Korea's CJ Group invested $300 million to acquire an 11% stake in DreamWorks SKG, also acquiring all rights to DreamWorks SKG's productions in Asia, excluding Japan. South Korean CJ Group. Aaron knocked on the table. CJ was the former Samsung Chiljeon Group. After the internal strife within Samsung, it was inherited by Lee Mang-hee, the eldest son of Samsung founder Lee Byung-chul. CJ is now managed by Lee Mang-hee's wife, Sun Funan, and brother-in-law, Sun Kyung-sik, as well as Lee Mang-hee's son, Lee Jae-hyun. CJ, having just spun off from Samsung Group and now the largest food conglomerate in South Korea, actually invested in DreamWorks SKG, founded by Jeffrey Katzenberg and others. With Paul Allen as a shareholder, DreamWorks SKG must be well-funded, not to mention that its co-founder, David Geffen, is himself a wealthy man. Newspaper reports indicate that CJ invested in DreamWorks because one of its directors, Lee Mi-kyung, knows Steven Spielberg. Originally, DreamWorks SKG had sought investment from Samsung, but DreamWorks was too strong, so Samsung declined. With Lee Mi-kyung's help, CJ Group invested directly. Lee Mi-kyung is the eldest daughter of Lee Mwang-hee and the third-generation daughter of the Samsung Lee family. What a shame, the current chairman of Samsung is Lee Kun-hee, the third son of Lee Byung-chul. A short while later, Christiana Yeri arrived at Aaron's office and announced that Michael Ovitz wanted to meet with her. "Isn't Michael Ovitz helping Seagram acquire MCA?" Aaron was puzzled. "Why would he want to meet with her?" Christiana Yeri guessed. Could it be that CAA has some packaged project that they want to cooperate with Dawn Films? Aaron smiled and shook his head. "Is Michael Ovitz still in the mood to care about these things at this time?" Reply to him, "I will go." He also wanted to hear what Michael Ovitz thought. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.